All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 15th episode of Topwater Live. Today is February 11th, 2020. I am here with my good friend Grant. Welcome.
Good to be here.
Your mic was really, really loud. I'm going to turn that down. Wow.
I can back up.
You start talking on camera and you get all excited.
Is that better?
It's a little better. It's a little better.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Did you have a good week?
I did. It's starting to warm up a little bit, and then it snows, and then it warms up, and it's a good day.
I got some snowboarding in. I feel pretty old after like one night of going out there and snowboarding, and I'm still sore like 3 days later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not 22 anymore.
No, it sucks getting old. I'm hungover after every one of these Topwater Lives for some reason. I haven't figured out that yet. So. All right. And welcome to Mr. Mike Anderson joining us again.
How's it going, everybody?
Doing good. How are you doing?
It's going great, man. So snowboarding, huh?
Yeah.
Is that your first time since your ACL
Yeah, it was
blowout?
The first time since the accident.
The accident that we don't speak of.
Right.
Maybe that's why you don't feel well.
That's why we don't go
After
back
you're done.
snowboarding at 35.
I'm not 35.
40?
Come on now. I am below those numbers. All right, take it away, Mike.
Well, we have a great show planned for everybody tonight. I'll go around the table in just a second and introduce everybody, but basically the format for tonight's show is going to be a little bit different than what we normally talk about. Tonight we want to take a more in-depth look at the female angling experience and what draws the lady anglers out fishing, your fishing experiences, and how can we get more ladies out on the water, whether that's kayak fishing or shore fishing, whatever fishing is to you. How do we get more ladies out on the water? Because there's a lot of talk, other podcasts, other episodes that you may have seen floating around talking about the female experience when it comes to tournament fishing in particular, where it's definitely a more male-dominated type sport. We're seeing some, more ladies coming onto the scene, and some of them doing extremely well. One of them will be on the show a little bit later tonight with us. But we want to really take a hard look at what drives the female angler and what's keeping them away from the tournament type experience. And we have a great cast here tonight with us, some with tournament experience at local levels, some with tournament experience on more of a national level, and some with limited tournament experience but are avid fishers. So we want to take a look at that from different perspectives. So joining us tonight on my left, Miss Jenna Solier, her husband Zach, joining us fresh up from Florida, from Kissimmee off the Invitational Tournament. So excited Zach could join us too. As usual, Mr. Matthew Diesel at the end.
Hello.
Sitting across from him, Cody Hart.
Hello.
Miss Lisa Johnston joining us.
Hello.
And Miss Sammy Kay.
How's it going?
So thank you guys very much for making the trip in and joining us tonight. I'm very excited for this type of format. Normally it's just a bunch of dudes in here talking fishing, and excited to have a different perspective put on the angling experience. So I'm glad you guys could join us tonight. So how's everybody doing?
Good. Pretty good. Good. Glad you had beer.
Yeah. Always have
Beer's
a
good.
well-stocked refrigerator, that's for sure. So,
Yeah.
Sammy, you've been on the show with us before, or been in the studio a couple times. Let's start with you, and let's dig right into it. What got you into fishing?
So growing up in the UP, I was fishing a lot when I was younger. We'd go camping, and that was kind of like our main thing, was to go out on the docks and fish and then go rollerblading. Then I stopped when I started playing sports, and about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, one of my buddies, he asked me to go fishing when we were out. I think we were getting lunch first, and he had fishing poles in the car. And we just went. I caught my first bass then, and I was just hooked.
Hooked?
Yes.
That bass did it?
That bass did it. I was like, ooh, I got something. Let's keep going.
But did you have people in your life as you were growing up that could kind of tutor you, take you out fishing, or is it something that you kind of had to do on your own, or something that you waited later on in life to go out and start doing?
So when I was little, my dad took us out. Our neighbor had a boat, so we'd go out a couple of times with him. I remember ice fishing and locking the keys in the truck while it was running while we were out in Big Bay to knock.
Nice.
That was great. Weren't allowed to go fishing for the rest of that year.
Yeah, you're a
Sorry.
UP kid, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. And then when we were up camping all the time up at Camp 7. It was just kind of like a free-for-all. My brother had some stuff, and he was younger than I was, and he was catching bluegills right underneath the dock, and that's where we would do it. And then after that, I started fishing with Lewis, and he usually teaches me as I go and hooked me into some trout,
It's nice
hooked
to
me into
have
bass.
that mentorship.
Yeah.
Somebody that can teach you a few things for sure.
Oh yeah. Like
How did you get into kayak fishing?
So Lewis and I used to go shore fishing all the time, and then he ended up with 2 kayaks, and we decided just to kind of go give it a shot. Yeah, it was a sit-in. It was not comfortable. About 2 hours on the water, I was ready to just stand up for a little bit. My elbows had nice little cuts on the inside from like casting and hitting the inside of the kayak, but after all the fish we'd catch and stuff, it was totally worth it.
Hooked for sure.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Definitely.
You've experienced some tournament fishing. You've competed in some Topwater events, any MKT events?
I did 2 or 3.
A couple MKT events,
Yeah.
right? What about the tournament experience for you personally? Do you feel like there's not a lot of female participation?
I really don't know. Like when I went, it was fun. Like you got up early, everyone's nice, everyone's willing to help you out. I mean, Tom put me in a Hobie for my first tournament, so that was a nice way to get me
started
in.
you out right.
Pedal drive, it was
Sounds like
storming. It was everyone else was out there struggling against the wind, and I'm just like, I don't know what you guys are worried about. Like I got it. This is fine. I can go all day. So I really don't know. Like
So
I don't know.
your tournament experiences have been no issues, fun,
Oh, yeah.
joyful, people helping out, people pitching in.
Everyone's been real great. If you run into something where you're not sure what's catching fish or anything, anyone that goes by you is normally willing to give you like words of advice, like, hey, I'm throwing this. This is what I've been doing at this depth, and it's like, okay, yeah, let me try that. And sure enough, you catch a fish, and it's like, oh, I just
Then
didn't
you're
try the
coming
right
back
stuff.
for the next one, yeah, for sure.
And it's like, can I just follow you? Like, where are you going next? So.
Well, now, Jenna, what about you? What got you into fishing?
Well, I didn't grow up in the UP, but I grew up in the boonies, so
Same thing.
yeah. My grandpa, my mom, we always went fishing. We went camping too. My grandpa had like a little 12-foot aluminum boat, and we'd always go. We went camping up by Tawas on a little string of lakes up there, and we'd always go out there and catch bass or panfish or whatever. And that's kind of how I got started fishing. My mom still fishes with me all the time now,
Awesome.
so that's
awesome.
pretty fun. As far as getting into a kayak goes, when I graduated college, my parents usually got us like some sort of like gift, and it was usually like a watch or something like that. And I told my mom, I don't want a watch. I don't wear watches. Can I have a kayak? And that's when kayaks were starting to become popular, and they were like $130 at Dunham's. I'm like, I want that instead. So that's what I got, and soon after that, Zach got one too, and we started going out and fishing off. Again, we had cheap sun dolphin sit-ins, mine was 10 foot. Like it was so rough to fish on that thing, but
That's where we all started.
yeah.
I still have got mine sitting in the garage.
Yeah, my dad took mine for a while, and now they're both upgraded to better ones. But that's kind of how we got into the kayak fishing. We would always go back to the lakes by his parents' house and catch some big fish during spawn. And then Zach got wind of some of the tournaments, and he started doing those. And I was watching him, and so it was kind of fun. I'd tag along once in a while, and then got into doing a couple of the tournaments and liked it myself. So. I'll get to that. I was trying to be modest.
Do you guys have those Tourney X results like printed out, and so you can point to them every now and then?
I mean, Zach might.
Reminders to do better next time. So you've had tournament experience as well out in the
Yeah.
kayaks, and how did that go for you? I mean, from your entering your first ever kayak tournament event, what was going through your brain? Were you nervous? Were you? Because
first
I
couple
imagine
times,
there
yeah.
weren't too many other lady anglers out there competing with you.
Yeah, I think the first one I did was a Mayo event.
When I was at Landers.
Oh yeah, we did a charity tournament for what was his sister-in-law that had cancer. But that was the first one that I did, and it was an interesting experience just being out in the water that long. I have a really short attention span, so that's hard enough for me to stay out and focus on one thing for that long. So, but you know, it kept my attention, so that's why I've kind of kept doing it. And last year I did a couple Mayo events and a couple MKT events. I didn't do a lot of topwater events because they're during the week.
Oh yeah.
And it works.
Yeah, it makes it tough, especially where you guys are located. We didn't really have much going on. Up
I'm
in
excited
that neck
about
of the
this
woods.
year though.
This year for sure.
Especially the Manistee event. We're really
That's gonna
excited
be
about
fun.
that one.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
But yeah, I managed to get second at Fletcher's Pond last year and qualify for nationals. So
That's
that was
such a
pretty
cool
cool.
fishery right there.
That was. I
to
caught
get
my
second at a place like that. That's
I caught my
pretty
personal
awesome.
best out there too. It was super fun.
Right on.
Yeah.
So, both of you guys, to start out, had a little bit of mentorship growing up. Family kind of went fishing, and so you were fishing with family, and then later on found somebody that could continue that fishing effort with. And both of you guys got into kayak fishing tournaments probably about the same time period,
Yeah.
I would think,
Yeah.
a few
Been a
years
couple
ago.
years,
so.
Yeah, like 3.
Yeah.
Now, Lisa, you haven't participated in kayak tournament fishing yet, but you do a tremendous amount of other fishing, right?
Yeah, I
Wh-
fish a lot.
What got you into that?
So I started out when I was a kid. We lived in Louisiana, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad worked for GM, so she'd take us to the catfish farms, and we'd sit there with cane poles,
Right on.
and catfish bait, and we always thought it was so cool, me and my brother, and I just kind of never stopped. I stopped for a little while. When I was a teenager, I got into rodeo. I had horses. That's all I cared about. But that ended, and I was like, well, I always liked fishing. I guess I can pick that back
Go
up.
back to
and
fishing. Yeah.
yeah, and I just never stopped. I just kind of figured out what they liked and started messing around with different things. And about 6 years ago, kayak fishing wasn't really that big from what I understood. I just saw a boy. I went fishing with a boy, and he had a
It seems to be a trend.
well,
Yeah.
he had an extra kayak, and I was like, I've never fished out of a kayak before. I'm like, this is pretty awesome. So like 2 days later, I went to Dunham's and I bought I didn't buy a dolphin. I got a Perception. It's a sit-in. I don't have the fancy
No, it's all
one,
good.
but it's still nice, and it's lasted me this long. But yeah, I have a little John boat with a trolling motor, and I have my kayak, but I prefer my kayak. When my son's home and he's not at his dad's, we're in the John boat because he likes to walk around, and he's 7, so he can't sit still.
Oh yeah.
But he's got his own little kayak, and he catches fish with me, and we lock up next to each other, and he casts. And
That's awesome.
he's got his own kayak, and we just go, and we do river sometimes. Huron River is his favorite, so we go there a lot because he likes the carp, and the huge pike amaze him. So
Those guys put up a massive fight. You
And
hook into
for-
one of those guys. It's a lot of fun.
and
to
for
hook
a little
into
kid, I mean,
nice big carp.
he thinks it's awesome. But I go all over. If I can get my kayak in there, I go, and I figure out what they like, and I just.
That's awesome. Now I've following you on social media, and you were doing some ice fishing the other day, and
That's
then
my
you were
second favorite.
you're doing some. What were you out fishing for the other day? I saw a quick picture.
Steelhead.
Steelhead fishing the other day.
See-
That was a huge steelhead you had on the front of the boat.
Yeah, and this is hard for me to say. I took my friend Joe, and I said, I've never done this before. I said, you want to try it? And he goes, oh, I've done it before. I got outfished by a boy. I told him that, and I said, I can't believe this. I said, every time I go out, I do real good. But it was really fishing in the middle of all that crazy water, and just letting the line just go. It was just so different.
I haven't done a lot of steelhead fishing. That's something that I would like to go out and give a try, but that's completely foreign to me, is
Yeah.
that technique. So.
I'd be down in the kayak, it'd pull me around.
Oh, that'd be
that
awesome.
sounds like,
Did you guys see the video of the guy that got towed out 15 miles out on the ocean? Holy crap.
A marlin.
After about mile 4.
Oh, yeah.
I would have just
Yeah.
been like, I have to paddle.
Yeah, I've got to make it back.
Can you go
Say
15
no.
miles back towards shore at least? Like,
It's crazy. But hooking into a nice big steelhead in a kayak, that would be a lot of fun too.
It was pretty cool. Everyone told me, oh, Lisa, you do that steelhead, you'll never want to catch anything else. And I'm like, I don't know about that. But it was cool. But I'm not going to jump on the steelhead bandwagon just yet.
Not yet.
It was cool. It was cool. It was a bucket list fish.
Very cool. Zach, thanks for joining us. Fresh up from Florida.
yeah, it's a lot colder up here.
Yeah, not quite near as nice as fishing the chain of
Too much
lakes
snow.
down there.
I like our lakes here better.
Yeah,
I do better.
Less alligators.
you do well with these lakes
yeah,
up here. so-
less alligators too.
Yeah, I heard you ran into a little alligator experience down there.
Couple. pretty much 2 or 3 every day. It's the time of year right now where the water's still. There were days where it was rough even finding 60-degree water. So the gators weren't really prominent like out until that midday sun. And I think the closest I came to one, I was back in kind of like a little canal that went back by a couple houses, and I was casting in a spot that I caught a fish during pre-fishing, and I look over and I saw what I thought was an alligator, but then I looked back and it wasn't there. And then, I kind of waited a couple minutes, and then I see him kind of walk up onto the shore, and he was probably only about, I would say maybe an 8-footer, but there was a bigger one.
Only 8.
Well, I mean, from some of the pictures that I saw that other guys took, that wasn't a big one. And I mean, we made the mistake the one day of going to a lake that had like guided gator boat tours, and me and George Nemeth are sitting out there in kayaks, and like airboats are flying around. And actually, the one thing that scared me was I got attacked by like an otter. Like not really, like he came like rushing out of the bush. I thought it was an alligator, and like he started hissing at me, and I'm like, you're the last thing that I wanted to, like, I didn't expect an otter. And like, they're not as cute and fuzzy as everybody thinks. When they're mad, they're mad. But yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't expect an otter. Snakes and gators and.
I mean, you got attacked by a swan.
They're those little river.
I mean.
They're like the river otters that you hear about, and like that's what I think it is. I don't know if they have a different name for them down there, but to me it was an otter, and it was mean. Like it hissed at me, and like I didn't want any part of it. But the gators, they don't bother you. I mean, if you're not actively trying to aggravate them, they're just, especially this time of year. I mean, if it was mating season or something down there, then okay, you got to worry about it.
For sure.
But, even that little 8-footer, I mean, he just sat there and watched me go by.
Just catching some sun. It's pretty cold for those guys too. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's 60-degree water. They're like cold-blooded. They gotta.
I can't imagine they're going after the same kind of bait that you guys are throwing out there.
I mean, there's still a big old bass might not. There were a couple. I looked
something.
down in the water, and there were a couple bass that I did see that had good teeth marks taken out of them.
Geez.
That it was probably a 16, 17 incher just laying on the bottom, and
Dang.
most likely a gator got that one.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, especially when you're
you're in
thinking
tournament.
that could be on my board.
Yeah, for sure.
How dead can this look?
Can I place my hand? Can I place my hand? Over
That's when you
teeth
throw the
marks?
treble hooks, right? I think somebody did get in trouble for that.
Yeah, lots of videos of him getting in trouble.
Oh yeah.
I'm so happy somebody was climbing those rocks that day and busted him.
But yeah, it was a great experience. I mean, I didn't do what I wanted to do, but you just learn from every time you're out on the water.
Though, man.
Oh yeah. I mean, the guys that were down there, just to be in the same conversations and the same leaderboards as some of those names. I mean, it's just a surreal feeling to be able to go out on the water and stand next to Mike Elsey and guys like that at the check-ins. It's a cool feeling.
That's pretty surreal. That would be amazing. Mm. Well, good for you, man, and congratulations on making it that far and going down there and competing and trying your best. That's all you can do, right?
I did outfish George Nemeth, so that's all I had to do. George, I'm sorry, I had to
Brought that
2
back
tournaments
home
in a row. You better step your game up.
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks for making the drive out, you guys. Appreciate
no
it.
problem.
Mr. Diesel, how's it going with you, bud?
Can't complain.
Anything new and exciting in fishing with Diesel land?
Oh, I
Picked up a little something this week.
got myself a new little green boat. Pretty excited for that one. No more paddling for this guy.
No more paddling.
Yeah, I'll save my shoulders a little bit.
Yeah. What'd you grab?
I am going to be repping Water Dog Outfitters, one of our fine sponsors here, in a Old Town Predator PDL.
It's a pretty boat, man.
It's pretty
I
cool.
was up there last week, had hands on it, checking it out. It was pretty sweet looking.
Now it's sitting in my garage looking sad next to my wife's car, just trying to figure out when I'm going to have time to rig it in between getting stuff ready for baby and like painting everything, and just I've got so much stuff on my plate now, I don't really know where to start.
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot. So, yeah, new baby coming along here soon too. Your plate is pretty full, sir.
Oh yeah, all kinds of stuff.
Are you going to do any film work when you're rigging up this old town? With
Yeah, I'm
Fishing
probably
with
gonna
Diesel?
probably
See
gonna
some
t-
new
probably gonna make a
episodes
couple
popping up?
videos. I've got a rigging video I got planned, and I'm going to redo my fishing wall in my basement in my little man cave. So we'll probably shoot a video for that too. So hopefully in the next week or two I can get some footage up for you guys to take
Yeah,
a look
absolutely.
in my life.
I love seeing these DIY videos. I look at a lot of different people's DIY videos when it comes to just fishing in general, but you know, most certainly the kayak fishing guys that are out, you do a lot of customizations too. I've checked out your storage units and stuff like that
I feel
too,
like
man.
DeWalt,
Yeah, I watched his acts like
DeWalt
4
needs
times.
to sponsor me.
Because I keep looking at it like, do I want to make a DeWalt cart for the back of my truck?
I'll tell you right now, I mean, it adds a little bit of weight, but I mean, just the fact that everybody's like, oh, well, why do you take that much with you? And I'm like, well, you never know.
never
what
know.
guys want. Like, take everything with you. You can always take 2 less, or it's, you know, not enough.
Mine's
About
pretty
gators,
packed.
it's not gators. Sorry, I'm reading Tim Percy's Facebook coming up. I'll get back on track here. I got lost in Facebook comment land. Mr. Hart,
How's it
how are
going?
you, sir?
Oh, wonderful. Glad
Thanks
to
for
be
joining
here.
us.
Of course.
So,
I don't have anything exciting to report, you know, just dealing with dirty diapers and
Dirty
waiting out
diapers.
the snow.
We're
It's a
just
lot
pretty
of-
excited that you said anything.
Second one of the night.
Second Red Bull's been out here. So.
How are you?
Red Bulls, so you talk a little bit.
Yes.
Are you feel okay?
No.
No?
Do you have permission?
Got the
You
shakes.
got the jitters?
We said Cody was going to lead the Christine Fisher interview here in just a little bit.
I told him I was going to go home.
He said, hell no, he was going to go home. So. Cody's a quiet one. Takes him a minute to warm up.
It's all right. We're avoiding the beers tonight. We'll stick with the Red Bull, and I'll stay awake for the entire thing.
You stayed. A couple weeks ago, we thought we were going to have to wake you up. Felt bad, like the show was not performing up to your standards. So we were going to have to wake you up at the table.
I think our viewership was down because he wasn't participating.
I felt, I
Probably
felt
my
like
fault.
that
No one
too.
wants to tune in to watch a guy sleep on camera.
Well, I mean, if you're sleeping and we pull out the permanent marker, I think people would tune
Views
back
could
in.
go up then,
Yeah.
but not this week.
So, what have you been up to? I know you rigged up your new fish finder yet?
I have not. I just finally got the old one ripped off, but the new one is still sitting nice and warm and snug in my office, so I can play with it inside.
What'd you end up picking up?
It's a Garmin 93 SV. I got it at Cabela's on Black Friday.
Heck yeah.
Really cheap.
That's the best time to get everything.
Yeah,
Oh, it
for
was.
sure.
That's when I bought mine last year.
The new Garmin units are just so nice.
It is.
Oh my gosh.
It's a big upgrade for
Are
my
you going
4-inch
Panoptics
Hummingbird.
and all that
so.
jazz for it?
Nah,
Not yet?
Not
I was gonna
yet.
say, you went with the SV93.
Yeah.
The one I went over to that. The worst thing is that I found out that was it the Garmin the Live Scan that wasn't compatible with that one
Oh,
that I
really?
have. I had just bought it too, so
Mm.
I was like, man, I should have waited. But it finds fish.
Right?
Oh.
It's a big upgrade from what I was used to this past couple of years. So, you know, eventually maybe we'll get to Panoptics, but we're not quite there yet.
Hey man, just having that new big screen is going to be so
Oh, yeah.
much nicer.
The maps, I'm so excited.
Yeah, the preloaded maps
Yep.
all ready to go. Just basically plug it in. You're on the water ready to go.
Yes, sir.
Those Garmin's are so nice. I'm rocking the same Garmin. Kyle's got one too. Those are the way to go. Nothing against Lawrence or anything like that, but those Garmin units are so nice. Mr. Van Leuven, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. I'm super.
Sore.
Super.
Super
You know,
sore.
I've done such a good job of not saying that word ever since I got called out on it. I'm trying really hard.
I got a bunch of
Write
sound
it on the
bites.
inside of my hand. Don't
I got-
say the word super. tonight.
I got a bunch of sound bites back here, ready to go for when you do.
Oh, God.
Working hard. Working hard. Grant the intern back in the house tonight.
Always.
Oh, how's it going with you, bud?
Good. I'm ready to
Dynamite.
finish.
I think I did a better job behind the scenes than you did, so I'm just
Sammy
gonna
had
put
to
that
fill
out
in
there.
last week for you when you came
That's
out to the
true.
table to talk our
Yeah.
fishing rod and reel segment. So
I
it's
almost
a great fill-in
I
job.
thought about calling in today, but she had to be on the show, so it didn't work out.
Somebody was gonna give you a run for your new award that you won last week
Yeah.
and the week before that.
What about this week, Kyle?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. On to the next thing then.
We
See how
definitely
it
don't
is.
have anything planned.
All right. So that's everybody in the house. We've got Luis in the back there too, but I don't think we've got a camera aimed at you for a reason. He's hiding
said
back
no.
behind the monitor.
That was
So
a hard head shake. He said it's gonna be down.
one of these days we got to get you out here on the show, bud. You're a wealth of information back there, just hiding out. So. You fished all over the country, man. You know what you're talking about. So, but I'm glad everybody could make us tonight on another Tuesday night of Topwater Live. Now that we've gone through and kind of introduced everybody and gave a little bit of backstory. Oh, we got breaking news.
Yeah, it looks like there's some type of breaking news report.
Topwater breaking news.
I don't know what this, Mike, you getting something in your ear there about what this is about, or?
I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Looks like our intern Grant squeaked out a narrow upset victory in the Midwest Regional Fishing Podcast Intern of the Year Finals. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
Our scroll
it's-
quit.
It's kind of a lengthy
That's why we haven't won any AV awards.
No, yeah, we definitely
What
don't.
happened to our crawl? This isn't ESPN here, but we try to make it look fancy.
I don't know, I can't take it off either.
Good Lord.
It's just gonna hang out there for a
It just broke.
Anyway, it was supposed to be really funny, and Kyle screwed it up.
I mean, if you want, Mike, I can talk to my buddy Brandon again and have him come back on. It's an idea.
That was awesome. I really want this scroll to work because the next part of it was hilarious.
Just pass you a note of it.
Let's just pretend this didn't happen. I'll fix it. 5 minutes, we'll come back.
We'll
skip
come
the whole
back.
thing
We're
over.
going to re-announce this new award.
All right.
But congratulations on your Midwest
Thank you.
internship squeak out victory. That's fantastic, brother.
It's a close
So I'm
finish.
excited to see where you're going to advance to next in your competition. Now you've killed the whole
I'm
show.
gonna fix that too.
So for you watching at home, our intern and our AV tech back there just screwed everything. There we are. Gosh, try to throw a little comedy in here. Break up the seriousness discussions
Because
we're
we're
about to
all
have.
super serious here.
We are.
Just full on business 24/7.
I feel like you two should arm wrestle, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Break
let's
this
do
up.
it.
I don't want
Break
to
it
be
up.
embarrassed like that.
If you don't want to
Not on
talk,
my-
you got to participate
I
somehow.
don't think
I am talking. I'm talking a lot.
I don't think I got any more. I don't think I got any more arm strength.
All right.
I'm soft now.
While they're back there figuring stuff
Just
out,
building up them leg muscles. Huh?
we wanted to get into the topic tonight about female anglers participating more just in fishing in general, or whether that's tournament style fishing, and try to diagnose a couple things.
I made it work again.
All right, we'll come back to it. Oh, it's scrolling, so damn it. Leave it on. I want to get into this topic.
Do it live.
It's not even funny anymore. It's just
If you're
over.
watching this at home, just narrate it yourself. All right, so it looks like Grant had an upset victory in the Midwest Regional Fishing. It's not funny now. It's too much buildup. And he's going to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals in Poughkeepsie, New York next week. It's fantastic, man. Good
Yeah,
job.
I'm pumped.
I'm so pumped. I want to see these awards.
It's
Like,
gonna be super.
Can you bring the award in?
Yeah, I'll work on that.
Print out your
It's in the
certificate.
mail.
Yeah.
He's got to win it first.
That's awesome. For those of you that are new to Topwater Live, Grant is a phenomenal intern, and he's been receiving a ton of accolades and awards here over the last couple weeks. And,
At least once a week.
In the obscure sports and fishing, is it obscure sports and fishing industry?
Yeah.
John knows?
I think
He's
so.
not quite
Obscure
that.
Sports and Fishing Industry Weekly Podcast done on Tuesday.
That's what it is.
I think
Yes.
that's what it's called.
That's fantastic. You're doing a fantastic job, man. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there, and hopefully they have interns as great as you. Thanks for making us look so good each
It's
week.
gonna be a tough one to beat me, but hey.
Modest.
Hey, you know what, Tim? I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
That's like the second
You
time.
guys can see the
Tim
Facebook
has just
chats
been-
up on the monitor over there.
I
Tim
don't
has
know
just been
what's-
throwing stuff at us.
What have I
tonight.
done to Tim? He always is verbally attacking me.
He just keeps throwing stuff at us like every couple minutes. He's
Uh-oh.
insulting us
That would
earlier in the
happen.
show.
I'm about had it.
Parents don't know how to type.
Was that supposed to say hi?
Yeah.
I was like, you guys are getting bad mouthed.
I mean,
They got
I
the
don't
same
know.
last name. They got to know you.
Yeah, that would be the parents. Hi, Mom.
We're gonna guess that means hi.
Yeah, that's just our special language.
Otherwise, your parents are just savage.
They were expecting you to do better down in Florida. Now
Yeah,
you're called out for it, man.
they were ready to disown me. If you're not first, you're last.
I love it. Okay, in all seriousness, let's reel it back in. What do you guys think is a couple of the underlying issues on female anglers entering the tournament scene, whether it's kayak, fishing, boat fishing, things like that? What do you think it is? Is it because it's mostly a male-dominated sport, so there's an intimidation type factor there of breaking into that type of mold, or is it tourney fees? What do you guys think it is?
I think it probably is just
let's
the
chat about it.
intimidation,
Yeah, I think it's imitation.
Yeah.
You think it's what?
Intimidation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Intimidation factor?
Oh, yeah.
I've been trying to get my mom into doing more tournaments because, I mean, there's sometimes when she outfishes both of us, she's got a little Hobie passport. So she's out there and going along with us, and she's always so nervous starting the tournaments. And I'm like, well, why are you nervous? Like, it's pretty relaxed. And she's like, it's just intimidating. So I think that's kind of like, it's perceived, but it really doesn't happen.
Intimidation factor, definitely see that. But let's break that down a little bit further. What is intimidating about tournament fishing? Now, I was super, there it is, intimidated in my first couple kayak tournament experiences as well. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, a few years ago, and, nervous to go to these tournaments or participate. I see guys rolling out their yaks that are completely customized and rigged to the gills, and I'm, in a nothing compared to what they have. And it's intimidating for men as well, because it happened to me personally. But what are some of the intimidation factors about it?
I think just being new to it. Like, if it's your first tournament, like, I know from my experience, like, I have really bad anxiety, and, like, seeing all these guys that have, like, these rigged out things, and they're just ready to go. They all got their buddies and stuff, and being, like, one of the only girls that's kind of like, I don't know who I could talk to. I don't know if it's going to be nice. Like, if I do go out there and I do something stupid, like, is that all they're going to remember? Like, if I accidentally, like, cast with the bail clothes, like, is that what I'm going to be known for? Like,
you've seen
it happens to everybody.
sometimes.
we just don't tell anybody about it.
I guess it's another thing is, like, just you're not one of the bros yet. And so sometimes when you're the first girl angler out there, like, everyone kind of looks at you and you're just like,
Hello.
okay, hi.
Yeah.
I'm one of you. Please stop staring.
You roll up to the boat launch, you feel like everybody's kind of like looking at you. You're like, okay, hi.
I can definitely see that. Now, what are some things that could be done to help decrease that intimidation factor? We feel like we try to do a lot of educational type stuff on these Topwater Lives and break different scenarios types down. Could we do more as far as that goes, as putting different perspectives and focus on entering your first kayak fishing tournament?
I think
Things like that to help.
For me, it was having like that guy buddy that's like, hey, let's go to this, and him being that buffer. So I don't know if like maybe having like some guys just being like, hey, my friend fishes, like she's a little low key, like bringing her to like maybe a Tuesday night or something that's a little bit more low key where she can kind of meet everybody. It's kind of like bringing a dog to a dog park. So, like, they're going to be shy at first, but once they get in, like, I fit in with you guys really well now. So I think it's just kind of like you got to find somebody and help them kind of break through it. So maybe a female anglers
So a buddy system?
Yeah, a buddy system. If we have, like, girls that we know that fish but are afraid, like, bringing them to something smaller and just kind of, like, instead of doing, like, the 8 hours where it's, like, high competition for that big prize, those little Tuesday night, Sunday night, whatever tournaments is something that would really break the ice for us, I think.
That's a good point.
And then after, like going out for a beer or dinner afterwards with everybody, like just getting to know everyone more on a personal level, I think that's a good way for us to like feel more at ease. At least for me, that was how I felt.
That's a really good point. If the intimidation factor is there just because maybe you don't know anybody or you don't know how you're going to be perceived showing up, at the launch and getting those looks of why you're there, stuff like that, I think there's many different types of tournaments out there. You do have your more competitive where people have traveled from, out of state to compete and, more expensive buy-in, thing like that's a little bit more serious type competition. But there are other events out there. You brought up the Tuesday Nighters. The Tuesday Nighters are, for those of you that haven't fished a Topwater Tuesday, very low pressure. It is more about the camaraderie and hanging out with other anglers and learning and educating, and very low pressure. It replaced our co-ed softball night. It replaced our bowling night, and now we go out kayak fishing on a Tuesday night. It's super inexpensive for entry fee, and then you get the chance. If you do well that night, you go home with a couple $100 and some cool prizes.
To me, that was
it's a great icebreaker. Are those Tuesday night type tournaments?
Oh yeah, and I feel so much closer to like the guys like Cody and you and Kyle and Grant. Like the closeness that I have with all you guys from doing those Tuesday nights is incredible. Like I couldn't believe it.
It's something that I've noticed though about not just the Topwater events. That the Mayo guys do a great job with this, MKT especially, where these tournament settings that I'm seeing now that I've expanded more of my participation in a lot of different groups. Everybody is very welcoming. Like I haven't personally ran into that experience yet where maybe it's because I'm a dude, and I'm not seeing it from that perspective. And that's why I want to talk about it. Everybody's very open, very, willing to share, educate, have a good time. Now I could definitely see on tournament day, where the competition is there and it can be more competitive and they're not so willing to share what they're particularly using or where they're going. And that's business,
Right.
It's an entry fee. You've had to pay to play. So I could see that, but you made a couple good points there. So the intimidation factor, that's one.
Yeah.
What's something else that you guys think that could keep lady anglers from participating more, not just in tournaments, but fishing in general? Is it they don't have that mentorship, somebody taking them out fishing when they were a youth, and they're coming into it later in life?
Well, tournament-wise, personally, why I have not is I don't, and it could not be this way. I just need to just try it. But I don't want to feel pressured while I'm doing my favorite thing in the whole world. Like, I think it's awesome that, like, I could go, and all my guy friends are like, oh, Lisa, you need to enter a tournament, and I'm like, I don't want to feel pressure. Like, I just want to chill. I don't want to fish. But, I mean, I think
that's a good point.
I don't, that's my thing. I'm not intimidated because I'm super friendly and I'm like really outgoing, and I'm not usually intimidated by men because I'm like, but I can outfish you. I'm just kidding, but
Like how she's
kind of. But honestly, it's more of that. But seriously, I don't want to feel pressure, and I don't do good under pressure either. But my girlfriend from Colorado came out this past summer to visit me, and she'd never fished in her life. She's like, I want to come out there and fish with you. And I was like, we'll catch fish every day. I said, I'll put you on fish. And she's like, I don't understand how you just did all that by yourself. And, it's so intimidating. She goes, when I go back home, I'm going to try and do it myself, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm like, you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. I showed you how to tie a knot. I showed you how to bait a hook. Even if you start with just worms, just go do it. But she's intimidated about going by herself.
And going out by herself.
I'm like, you can do it. I said, if you want to text me, you have any questions,
Well, I think having the friend too is like a confidence boost. Like if you're out there by yourself and you're out, like for me, if I was out fly fishing, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what's going on. Like if I have somebody that's done it though, it's kind of like, okay, you're gonna want to try to tie this on, and if that doesn't work, go with this, and then it kind of boosts your confidence where you're like, okay, so now this is the weather pattern and everything. Okay, so if I'm out by myself, I can use this. This is what everyone else told me to do. So I think a confidence factor is something that we need to have too.
And a lot of girls aren't easy to talk to. Like, if we're going to be honest, like, girls are not as chill as guys. It's probably why most of my friends are guys, because I get along with men.
Yeah.
And it's harder for girls to hang out. It just is. And if there was more
and if
chill,
you put them more in a competition type setting, it could be even
I don't
worse.
even want to think about it.
I could see that to an extent from my point of view. I could see that where you enter a tournament and things stiffen up, and because you've paid money to be there at that point. You're in a competition and everybody wants to try and win. That's why you're coming to a lot of these tournaments. What about, now we've talked a couple different times about the buddy system. Mm-hmm. What if we could develop a format for some of these lower pressure style like Tuesday nighters where, I don't know, we could do a buddy system rate where, you know, if two of you sign up together, we could do a special pricing or something like that. Would you think that would help get more ladies out if they could bring a friend or something like that at lower entry fees? You know, whether it's a male friend or a female friend, something like that, just to get more participation.
I think doing like a co-ed, like a team tournament.
Team
like on
tournament.
a
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Co-ed team tournament?
Yeah.
Like
Or like a
someone, I think
scrambler.
it's Jamie Belcher in
Yeah.
the comments
Oh, yeah.
commented co-ed team tourney. So I'm
I
thinking
mean-
if you like do a Tuesday night co-ed team tourney,
We've done team monthlies before, and
like
that was
do
kind
whatever,
of fun.
Yeah.
like just bring two of you sign up.
Yeah, I know. Like we did. I think it was when Michigan Kayak Trail, they did a team monthly tournament maybe last year, and we fished.
2 years ago.
I think 2 years ago, and we actually had her.
Family
her-
friend.
Yeah, a family friend. You know, had lost her daughter. So we named our team after her daughter, and
Yeah,
we
that was
we
pretty
told
cool.
her, like, if we win, you know, any money, we're gonna, you know, help
We-
you. We're gonna give any money towards you, and you know, it was fun because not only were we fishing for that, but we spent almost an entire month, you know, just being able to fish together, and we weren't out competing against each other, because I'm not gonna lie, every husband that has taken their wife fishing knows the curse of taking your wife out. The first tournament we've ever fished together, she was referring to earlier, it was on Kent Lake, 70-degree day, and Topwater was hitting like crazy, and I couldn't get a single fish to bite. She was right behind me the entire day throwing the exact same thing and coming away with 17, 18 inches. I don't think we had a conversation that entire
Oh, you're
ride.
so mad at me.
And I think that's also one of the things is, you know, I know when we first started fishing together, you know, it was difficult at first when she would go out and do really well and I would have a bad day. And, you know, any guy that, you know, takes a girl fishing and gets beaten and
don't
can
like
say,
it.
"Oh yeah, I'm
You don't
proud
like
that she
it.
did that." Like, you're lying.
There's a little ego. A little
And,
ego.
and yeah, like last year when she did really well at Fletcher's Pond, I mean, we pre-fished the 2 days prior, and I had a really good 2 days of pre-fishing. I
We
told
both
her my
did.
strategy, and
No,
it worked.
no,
for-
no, no,
well,
no,
no, it,
no.
you did. So I didn't tell her. We had the same strategy going in.
But we
both-
pre-fished
Yeah,
apart,
we
so we-
pre-fished apart, but we both kind of had that same strategy.
But I was using
It
a
worked
different
for
color.
her. It did not work for me.
You didn't listen to me on the color.
Yeah, girls like sparkly things. I forgot
Yeah,
to add
and
the
they
purple
work.
goby. But you know, I was proud that she did really well. Now deep down, I was upset that I wasn't in the top three. You know, but you know, it is nice to see. You know, my biggest humbling thing was when my first cats tournament, I got beat by a 12-year-old girl. Kira Landers smacked everybody that day. And actually, she's kind of the reason that I wanted to fish harder. Like, the next time I fished against her, I was like, yes, I beat Kira. That's all I cared about, because I was like, I just didn't want to get beat again. And, you know, but that's the thing, is seeing a girl that's 12 years old out there competing against guys that are in their 30s and 40s and kind of just destroying them. It was great. It was great to see. And, like, you know, some of the other ladies that we fish with, Luann,
Kathy.
Kathy Pauley up in Mayo, like, they are great women to talk to. Like, they're
super cool.
A lot of experience. Like, I run into them occasionally on the rivers over in was it
Like the
Frankenmuth
Thumb,
there?
yeah.
And you know, I'll be going out and they're coming in telling me where they caught fish, what they caught them on, and you know, it's like, oh well, you know, thanks. You know,
There are so many, just in our state alone, tremendous female anglers. You know, you mentioned Kathy,
Yeah.
Luann, Shannon.
I was gonna say
I'm part of
Shannon,
a-
Jen.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have heard of the WWFF women's fishing
Yeah.
thing. But my mom and I went down to Missouri in October and went to their little retreat thing. And
You were down there.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's really cool. That's something that I
Um,
want to talk about with Christine later, because I knew she was down there. And
Yeah.
we talked to Susie Roloff about that.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, a couple months ago, back in like September, we talked about that because I thought that was such a cool event.
The format was really cool.
Yeah,
it was
for
very
female anglers. I thought that was awesome.
aimed at teaching, like you were talking about, your friend doesn't know. There's a lot of things that you can use when you fish, and it's so overwhelming because if you really don't know anything about it, you're like,
I don't know what to
what? So
I guess
they,
I'll try everything.
they literally taught us how to tie on lures, how to read side scan, use our fish finder, how to scout new water. Like, it was really cool and aimed at getting people into fishing tournaments. So I think getting more people into doing stuff like that could help too. Plus, you get to go on a trip, so that's cool too.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think they're doing another one.
This was
year
a
too.
women's only retreat, basically, to learn all things fishing.
Yep.
How to use your tools, how to fish, you know. And
brought
you
kayaks
said they're
to
thinking
demo
about
and
doing.
They are doing a second one on Table Rock in October.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That would be great to get something like that brought up to.
I would love to do one up here because
That'd be
it's,
amazing.
I mean, it's beautiful down there, but it's a hike.
Yeah.
And when we drug a trailer up the mountains, that was rough too.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be really cool to do stuff like that around here and like get the
Just the women
community
together.
a little bit farther north.
That'd be awesome. Now, they have a Facebook group.
Yeah.
Right? What was the. Tell everybody the name of it
WWFF.
again.
I don't remember what it
I think it was
stands
the
for.
Worldwide Women's.
Fishing Federation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something
I should
like
have worn my
that.
t-shirt. I would have
WW.
known. FF.
FF.
Yeah.
WWF.
Christine probably knows what it stands for.
So, and we can share that link on our page too after the
Yeah.
podcast is over. But we were following it as it was happening last year and thought, what a cool event this is for
That's
lady
sweet.
anglers. It was all women. I think you guys had like 50 or
Yeah,
so
it was
anglers.
like 50 of us.
What's that? Oh, well, let's bring her on. That's perfect timing then.
Look at that.
So everybody should be able to hear her. Hi, Christine.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you doing?
I am exhausted, but am fabulous. It's been a great time down here in Florida, so I'm happy to be here with you all tonight.
You had a couple tremendous days out fishing with some new PBs on the board. Two.
Right, back to back 11 pounders. Like it was unreal. Today was not that way though, as you can tell. Like I didn't have time to shower, but it was an absolute grind today. So I did a little video on my Instagram, and I was like, "Look, y'all, I just want you to know that not every day is like this yesterday. It was the bugs were bad. It was hot. There's no wind, and I got like a 6.5 pounder and a couple of 4s, but nothing like yesterday. It was much tougher. So."
Still, either way, it sounds like a tremendous time fishing down in Florida. We're up here in Michigan, and there's nothing happening right now.
No, there's snow here. Snow. Lots of snow.
Well, thank
You're
you
right.
very much for joining us. I know you have been really, really busy and constantly on the go. So taking the time to join us tonight, I really appreciate it. And one of the main reasons we wanted to have you on tonight was to get from someone of your angler stature and perspective a view on lady anglers and what we could do to get more lady anglers involved, whether it's just fishing in general or getting more women involved in tournament style fishing, whether that's kayaks, boats, whatever it may be, but just getting more female participation in general. And you know, what can we do to make that happen, and what are some of the detriments on why it's not happening? So maybe you could help us shed some light on that subject from your point of view. I know you participate in a large amount of events all over the country, and you talk to a large female base. What are you hearing?
You know, I honestly didn't have a great grasp on that until I put on that women's event last fall. I didn't know why women weren't competing in tournaments. I was usually the only one at the national level stuff. If there may have been one or two others at a couple, but not really. And I couldn't answer that. You know, I said maybe they didn't grow up doing it, or maybe it's an intimidation. And I asked that at my event I hosted, and what I learned is that I think the majority of women, it's purely an intimidation thing for them. They feel like everyone's watching them, you know, like they have an extra set of eyes on them, and that everyone's like, oh, here's a gal. It's, you know, either expecting her to not to do well, or she has that added pressure. Those are kind of just a brief summary of the responses that I got from the gals that were at my event. I think intimidation was the biggest thing. Just not wanting to do something stupid in front of everybody was a big thing, and that's why that whole thing was done, is to you know, maybe and give these gals the skill set and the knowledge to be able to get out there and do this thing on their own, and hopes that might, you know, encourage a few more gals to get out there and compete, or even just get out and enjoy a day on the water, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. When we brought up this topic a little while ago when we started the show, the intimidation factor was the number one answer right out of the gate. So we've been trying to dissect that a little bit better on what could we do as an angling community to make things less intimidating. Now, like I said, you get to travel all over the country. You participate in a lot of tournaments. What are some things that you think as an angling community we could try to do a little bit better to make things less intimidating? Or is there any one thing that could be done? Is that more of a personal type fear, or is there things that could be done amongst the individual groups and tournaments themselves?
So, in all honesty, I think our kayak community is top notch. I mean, it's unparalleled. The camaraderie and the generosity and the kindness and the willingness to share. I just had 3 gals from my women's event come and fish the Hobie on Seminole. And I gave them a list of I was like, okay, I'm going to get I try to think ahead of this. I was like, I'm going to get a list of guys and to give these gals so they can reach out. And I was like, I've got like 50 that come to mind, of these guys that these gals can reach out to. I don't think it's the community. I think it's strictly a personal thing. I've never once felt like anyone in our community has ever been off-putting or just, judgmental or anything like that. I've never had any experiences like that, and I don't think anybody else has or any other gals have. I mean, I fish them all, so I'm trying to. Everyone's been wonderful from the get-go. Everybody. I think it's purely a personal thing that we have to, they have to overcome on their own. It's just an obstacle that. Sorry, I'm trying to get my words together. I've had a long day.
No problem at all.
Yeah, I think mostly it's a personal thing with them. It's an inner strength type of deal. However you have to channel it and find it, and just you can't let fear bind you. You got to go for it. I guess at the end of the day, that's really what you have to do.
Yeah,
I think.
I agree with you. I think that we were talking about that a little bit ago as well, is that the different tournaments and events that these guys have been able to participate in, whether it's more regionally or more nationally, that they haven't ran into that intimidation type factor with the community once they've gotten there. Sammy was talking about a little bit ago how once she started tournament fishing with us here in Michigan, she got to know the community, and it's been great, since getting
right.
in. And I really think it's one of those things where you just got to jump in and give it a test and see if it's for you or not, because the community and the kayak tournament, field, it's a great community. A lot of people willing to pitch in and help out.
Absolutely. Yeah, with everything. I mean, I'll tell people where I'm catching fish and what I'm catching them on. It doesn't matter to me. And a lot of people will do that. We're super forthcoming with information, and it's just, everyone likes to, we all like to see each other succeed. And at the end of the day, we're out there, having a good time. Everybody's catching fish. We all win. So I think that's really a unique aspect of our community, and it's something that you shouldn't be intimidated by it. I don't think, anyway. Now,
do you, through all your fishing experience, do you feel like fishing brand manufacturers have an adequate product line geared towards lady anglers, whether that's clothing, whether that's marketed gear specifically towards women? Is that a thing? It's something that I personally don't know.
So I'm probably the wrong person to ask about that, because I typically wear all men's clothing because I'm about 6 foot tall and 130 pounds. So women's stuff doesn't really fit me. As far as clothing goes, I'm lucky with AFTCO. Like they finally have a line that has good length, and it's not. I don't like real feminine stuff. I don't like the girly colors. I don't like the V cut. I just want something that's functional and simple. And I like the boring camouflage neutral colors. And as far as gear goes, there's, at least to my knowledge, unless there's gals that need lighter gear for some reason, I don't see a need for women's specific gear.
Sure.
Unless you need like a shiwi or something. I've seen those are pretty popular.
Sure. A lot of hours spent out on the kayak. That could come in handy for sure. No, I didn't know if there was specifically marketed gear towards ladies. I didn't know if that was even a thing. So I wanted to ask that question because I had been asked that before, and I didn't have an answer for somebody.
I think we had a women's rod. It was like opaque-ish purple color, and it was supposedly supposed to be kind of lighter weight. I've never used it. I'm not sure that was a great seller for them. But as far as gear specific stuff, I don't think there's a need for it really. I think we've got, I mean, it's
right
stuff, you know?
It's just fishing stuff.
Not all girls like pink.
That's true.
I feel that's what it is. Anytime there's a women's
Now, something that we were talking about right before we brought you on was the women's conference, and Jenna, one of our guests here, was attending the conference this past year.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about that for a little bit? Because we were going to bring that up in just a little bit, and it actually worked out great that you came on right as we started that conversation. And I think that was really important, what you guys did this past year. And we talked to Susie Roloff about it a couple months ago on a Topwater episode, and I think it's fantastic, and I think we need to see more of that because I think that really does draw people out of their shell and gives them a chance to learn some information in a less intimidating, atmosphere.
Right, absolutely. That event was such a, going into it, I'd never been around a group of women of that capacity in my entire life. So a lot of people don't know this, but I was incredibly nervous, and I don't get nervous very easy. But I was, because I'm usually around guys all the time, so that was something I was like, gosh, what do I expect? How I'm the one teaching these classes for the most part. So what do people need to learn? It was just, thank goodness I had Mel Isaacs and Amanda Brennan and Susie. Oh my gosh, Susie's wonderful to help me kind of do this. But, I got there and, I teach a class on depth finder electronics or how to break down water. And then next thing you know, a gal would come up to me after the class is done and say, hey, can you teach me how to tie a Texas rig? So I'd say, yeah, sure, no problem. So I'd sit her down, and then all of a sudden there's 20 gals like around me wanting to learn how to tie a Texas rig. And so I cut off the line and give everybody a tungsten weight and a peg and talk about it. And it just like the looks on their faces, you could just see it like they're learning and they're loving it. And that was one of the coolest things I think I've ever done or been a part of, And I think that's the ticket right there. Is just if I can use my talents and my abilities and my knowledge and share it as much of it as I can and teach these gals even just something to give them just a tiny bit of confidence, we're going to see more women doing this and doing it more often. And that's the entire goal of that event, from the get-go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's just the thing, for me, I didn't really, for a long time, I didn't see the need for women's only events. And I was very outspoken against them, to be honest with you, until last year when I, had all these women reaching out and they talked about all the challenges and the obstacles and the intimidation. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not looking at this with the right perspective. I need to step back and look at it from everybody else's point of view. And it was an incredibly impactful event, not just for them, but for me. So I'm really excited to get year two going with that. It should be great.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty exciting. It's something for a lot of people to look forward to. Now, like you just mentioned, when you came out of that experience, did that change your perspective on lady-only events? Is that something that tournament hosts should be thinking about for future, putting together more of a ladies-only type tournament concept?
So I think that it would be a great thing on the local level, in some capacity. Obviously, I don't believe in separating the two on a national, more of an elite style level at all, since it's not advantageous either way.
Sure.
But it could be really beneficial, to do like, I know they talked about doing like a ladies only online deal, and I think Harmony still does one of those. And I think that's great. A lot of the gals said they'd be in favor of something like that. And I think as long as it's, kind of a local deal amongst a club, that could be a great way just to get gals into it, like an introductory tournament, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like a series of that. I wouldn't see why they wouldn't. You've got the LBAA, the Ladies Bass Angler Association,
Sure.
that that does their thing, and that's pretty popular. There's a lot of women that do that, and they feel it's an atmosphere to be comfortable, and do what you love, and then maybe that gives you a little foot in the door to dabble in the whole rest of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really great idea, and I think us here as a more local level series, I think that's something that we should put some focus on and see if that's something that we could establish here in the state of Michigan for our lady anglers up here. That's a really good idea. Well, what's next for you? Where are you headed next? You're down in Florida now? Where are your travels taking you next?
I gotta think about that for a second. I was supposed to be I know this is story of my life. I was supposed to be a marshal at the BASS Chickamauga event here, but it got postponed for the flooding.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I'm still down in Florida, honestly.
Yeah.
Had a great day. I was like, we'll just stay down here a couple more days. I think we're gonna head back to Georgia tomorrow. I'm gonna get a day in at Logan Martin pre-fishing before that BASS event in a couple weeks. And then I'm going to head to Lake Fork to start pre-fishing for the Hobie there. And
Absolutely.
so I'll be going to Texas here probably in 3 or 4 days, hopefully.
Jeez, life on the road. Holy smokes.
It's nonstop, man. It's nonstop.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you have such a busy schedule, and we knew this was an important night for us to talk about these topics and wanted to have someone of your experience at your current level talk about this. And I knew your participation with the Women's Worldwide Federation Conference last year. Fishing, I think I mispronounced that.
Fishing Federation.
Worldwide
Fishing
Women's
Federation.
Fishing.
But I wanted to get your input on that. It's one of these important topics that we wanted to focus on about, female participation and what we could do as a more proactive stance on getting more lady participation out on the water, whether that was tournament fishing or just fishing in general. It's something that we all love to do.
Right. I think maybe doing something like that, playing around with a local tournament or just a get together. Honestly, more so than just tournaments, having like get-togethers, having people get together, go out and just plan I know my club back in Nebraska, when I lived there, we'd get together and camp and do these things all the time. And that just created such a, just a friendly, laid back atmosphere. And I think stuff like that, anytime you can get a group together and go out and do stuff, I think it kind of helps set the tone a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Do any of you guys have any questions?
Questions? No.
No.
I just agree with Elizabeth.
All right.
Yeah,
For sure.
baby.
Just a whole lot of
All
head
right.
shaking.
Everything she said.
Well, Christine, thank you
Sounds
so
good.
much for your time. I really appreciate you taking the opportunity or the chance to give us this opportunity to talk to you. I know how busy you are, so we will.
It's great to be on with you all, and I love that you had me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and good luck.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That was awesome. For those of you watching at home that don't know who Christine Fisher is, you need
Just go follow
to
her.
learn.
Just follow her on Instagram.
She is on top of the kayak angling game right now, and she's tearing it up. And her travels, like she just mentioned, take her all over the country, and it's fantastic to watch from afar what those guys are doing at that level. And just to see it and hear about it, it makes me so jealous. Like, I want to be doing the same thing up here in Michigan in the dead of winter, and we can't do anything. And to hear about these guys down here in Florida fishing, and then going to Georgia and Logan Martin, and
Gunnersville will come soon.
Gunnerville's coming soon, right?
It'll come soon enough.
Yeah,
I think I don't know. We make the
Well,
comment.
we're finally just getting to that point.
We make the comment soon enough, and I see
never-
45 days on my
Oh, I could
countdown,
never
and that's
ice
soon enough because I got to start planning.
It's coming
You have a
fast.
countdown?
Oh yeah, I leave for nationals in 45 days.
It's coming fast. Oh my gosh. Now, you talked about ice fishing. We were just able to do some ice fishing here recently, unless you traveled all the way up north.
No,
gotta be a
I
white
made a
people
joke
thing.
about that the other day. Like
No.
what we consider unsafe ice, we've been fishing on. And I'm like, this is the first year I've had to actually spud my way out and be like, am I gonna fall through?
Yeah.
Like, can I drag my sled out here? And I've been okay on the sled.
Oh yeah, it's wood.
I've been okay so far, but it was sketchy. When you see I mean, last year, you know, I'm drilling holes and I have a hand auger. It's not like I have anything fancy.
Right.
You know, and the ice is this thick, then this year it's like this thick. I'm like, oh boy. You start twisting it and you're like, oh, we're through. Oh, we're already through. Great, I guess I'll get going.
That's sketchy.
That's I was gonna say, you come over to the Saginaw Bay where you got the crack at
Jump the crack.
6 in the morning.
That's
it's 4, you know, maybe a foot wide, and then you come in at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's like 8 feet wide, and you're sitting there, and you know you see the ground move below you, and you're wondering, you know, is the ice moving, or am I just have I been drinking a little too much?
That reminds me of the UP. Like every spring, you have like somebody's shack, and they come out and they look, and they're floating in the middle of the water. And you're like,
I mean, the
helicopter has to come in and get them, and they lose
I was
everything
just
they
out
can't
yesterday jigging for walleye on my kayak on the Saginaw River, and there are people on the bay and the cuts ice fishing.
Oh my God.
And it's like, you know, I get that you've been doing it your whole life, but
I don't have that.
the river is wide open,
not
and
that
I'm jigging for walleye off a kayak, and you know, yeah, it's 34-degree water, but
No way.
yeah, I'd rather wait.
Yeah, I'll wait.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
We went on Wabasee, and there was about 6 inches, and I was still like, I don't know if this is enough for me. Like,
You guys made me nervous. I saw Lewis post, there's 4 inches on Wapsie, and I was like,
Yeah.
Pyatt
that's
said
what
it before I did. I was like, that guy just fell through there on Sunday, and he was posting this on Tuesday.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
was like, stay off that
well,
ice,
then he
man.
tells me we're out there fishing, and he goes, so I had a dream he fell through, and I was like,
Oh, good.
all right, now I've got a game plan. I'm going to put that thing, I'm going to shore, like it's 20 feet, I'm going.
I'm not the biggest ice fisher. I'd love to get out there and do it more. Just
No, I texted
years
my
like this year
friend.
make me
Yeah.
too nervous.
This year wasn't fun. I think it's because I spent so much money, like buying new fishing equipment, new reels and everything, and it's just like,
There's
all
a lot
right.
of people in that boat this year.
It's like, I'm going to be proactive.
Where were
Just
you
kidding.
out fishing the other day? You don't have to give away your secret spot or anything.
Like
but-
ice fishing?
Yeah, you were
That's-
out ice fishing the other
That's
day.
what I was about to say. My 2 little secret spots that my son's the only one. I mean, one's like a 4-mile hike, and I don't have a sled. Like I pull all my stuff, so you know. And I texted my friend Maddie, and I said, I'm going out to my one spot. It's like 4 miles out in the woods. I said, so if you don't hear from me, you should check on me. I said, 'cause I don't know how safe the ice is. He goes, oh Jesus Christ. You know, and I'm like, I'm kind of being serious, but I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, just give me a courtesy call every
There
day.
was a guy down there when I got there, and I'm like, oh, somebody knows about my spot. I'm like, oh, you know, and I saw his sled marks going all around this full body of water, or what I could see, and I said, it's not safe, or he goes, no, he goes, I took a couple steps out, and I went right through, and you know, up to his ankles, and I'm like, I'm gonna go around that side, and I take my spud, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm going right through here, but I mean, the further in the middle I got, you know, I got 4 inches,
Deeper
and I'm
was.
like, all right, I'm gonna pull out here.
Oh, man.
But I was a little sketched out, because, you know, I
Yeah,
pull my
for
shanty,
sure.
it's getting windy, pop up the shanty, and then at that point you can see in the water, it's all dark, it looks real cool. And then I saw really how thin the ice was, and I'm like, I am being so stupid right now.
But it's so worth it.
But I caught some monster crappie and perch.
Yeah, you posted a healthy catch.
Yeah, those were the
holy
2
smokes.
fatty ones, but it was good.
What do you guys think about what Christine had to say as far as more of a women's, we talked about co-ed possibilities, but she mentioned coming out of that with the idea of maybe more of a women's only type setup, and not even so much a women's only tournament, but more of just a get-together type deal where it could be maybe we throw in some educational type stuff, or, you know, and then just a learning type of experience. Do you think that'd be a great idea?
Yeah, the cool thing about the thing that we did in Missouri was there was no pressure. You could kind of choose the events that you wanted to participate in based on your skill. So there were some things that I chose not to do because I already knew how to tie knots and do a certain type of rigging, but you kind of got to learn at your own pace, and that was really nice. I think doing more of an educational get-together would ease people into it and get them into the community so they would want to do a tournament. I think that'd be really cool.
That would be awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? We've talked about it in bits and pieces, but it's WWFF, Women's Worldwide Fishing Federation. I'll get it right this time.
Susie corrected me on that.
Now,
I think you got it
Got
wrong.
it.
tell it.
No,
I'm
he
sure
got
there's lots of
it.
people that are
no,
watching
okay.
this.
Got it.
I know.
Susie's probably like,
that are
"What the
watching
heck?"
this wondering what we're talking about, because
Yeah.
it was a really cool experience at the
Yeah.
time when it happened, and we were seeing all the photos and stuff like that everybody was posting from the event. But break the event down for the ladies that are watching at home. What is that event? And maybe hopefully we can get something like that up in our neck of the woods soon.
Yeah, so we all stayed at, it was like a little mom and pop resort right on the water. Oh gosh, I can't even remember the lake we were on, but it was really near to Branson and Table Rock, but it was Bull Shoals, I think. And we would have classes throughout the day, a couple in the morning, a couple at night. Like Christine said, she would teach like how to use the fish finder, how to tie certain knots, what baits to use, how to use navionics. That was probably my favorite one because I have no idea what I'm looking at when I'm staring at my fish finder. I'm like, oh, it's 3 feet deep. Okay, that's pretty much all I know.
That's
That's all I
basically
really
what
need to
use mine
know.
for,
Okay,
too.
yeah.
Water temperature and depth. That's about all I use it for.
Yeah, and putting it in that format too. And she said we were able to ask additional questions based on what we were looking to get out of it, and having it be participant driven like that was, I think, what made it so cool. It
That's
made
really
it seem
cool.
more approachable as a sport, and you felt more involved, and you took ownership of the event, and a lot of people developed some cool friendships. I thought that
Oh, I
was
can
nice.
imagine.
It was cool going with my mom too, because we got to take a 12-hour road trip. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, that was fun.
And then you guys got to get out on the water as well.
Yeah. They gave you like a afternoon free time. We all went out and fished a little bit, and Christine brought a bunch of kayaks over, so people could try out different
awesome.
hobbies and see which ones they liked. I wish I would have tried a couple now because I'm looking for a different kayak now. But
Talking to Tom Mullins a little bit.
Yeah.
For an upgrade.
yeah, I think my mom's gonna buy mine. I'm gonna get it upgrade. So that's
Right
pretty
on.
cool. Yeah. But yeah, and then Branson Chamber of Commerce put us up with a couple of cool restaurants. We got to go out to dinner at night and chat together, and then we went to a magic show the one night because Branson, is kind of like a mini Las Vegas, but it's
Heck
a little
yeah.
bit cheesier, But that was super fun too. So sprinkling those type of things in, it wasn't all about fishing. It was more about the camaraderie. And that
Yeah,
was
the
really cool.
camaraderie, the atmosphere, and
Yeah.
just the community.
Yeah, and like she was saying, a couple of ladies I follow from that event were fishing at Seminole, and that was cool to watch them. And a couple of them had like problems with their car, and one of them, I think, snapped their pedal drive. And
Man.
yeah, it
That's a
was.
heartbreaking moment right
But
there.
it was cool to see them at such a high-profile event, and I hadn't
absolutely.
seen them do anything that major, and it was cool to see them have that confidence to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that event really helped them get there. So
I
was
think
cool
it's
to
a
do.
great concept. I would love to see that from a male's perspective, something like that up in our neck of the woods.
And I mean, the biggest thing is like, and to pretty much all the women that think, intimidation is the biggest, I'm not gonna lie, I show up to tournaments and I'm intimidated.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
absolutely.
You see some of the names on the top as us guys that have been around it, like, we look at the leaderboard when we sign up for a tournament. The biggest thing is just like, you just gotta do it. I mean, at any point you can catch that one big fish that, can change a day, or, and actually it was funny that she just commented because like Jenna's mom, she did a Lake St. Helens tournament with us last year, and I got right out and I knew kind of where I wanted to go.
That's
And
right.
I,
Your mom was there.
I
Yeah.
pedaled as hard as I could, and I flew past them, and I get out and I'm fishing this spot, and then I hear two people coming up, and I'm like, oh, I thought I had the spot to myself. And I was on the northwest side of the lake. There was a stream coming in, warmest spot I could find, and I had a limit by maybe like 8:30,
Right.
But they were all small. Well, then her mom comes up and she just throws in I think I was using a Ned rig, but I was kind of using it like a swim bait. And her mom comes up and throws a Ned rig in like 40 yards in front of me, kind of where I was like heading towards. She pulls out like an 18 and a half inch. It was a 19 flat.
In April.
And this is in April. Like
Yeah.
water's still cold.
It was freezing.
First tournament.
We were worried the water was
going
gonna
to a lot of us.
I thought about it for a second, like, yeah, I was upset, but I was like, you know what, good for her.
Good for her.
Because what's to say I would have even caught that fish? And the one thing I've really found about women anglers, and correct me if I'm wrong, is they have the patience that we don't have. We as men we're run and gun. We want to get to our spot. We want to hit that spot, and we want to hit it, 4 or 5 times, and we want to go. Because if we're not catching a fish in forecast, there's probably not anything there.
Sure.
I've seen, Jenna's mom, Luann, Kathy, like I've seen Jen, Shannon, like they will sit on a spot and because they know that there are fish there. We did a tournament up at the Northern Michigan Trail that was around last year. And we talked about it going into it. There were 2 lakes that you could fish. I knew what lake I wanted to fish because I found bedding smallmouth, and it was a good day for me. But Jenna decided she wanted to go to the one lake where she knew she could get a limit. She took my truck, dropped me off at the lake in the morning. She took it back with her. She caught her limit, got out, came over to the other lake, and upgraded every single fish because that was her plan going in. And that you could see that she was confident in that plan. And that's the biggest thing, is just being confident about that tournament you're going into. Whether you're intimidated, whether you're you don't feel that you're prepared, don't go into a tournament thinking you're going to win. Just go in thinking you got to catch 1 fish to catch 2 fish. I think you can't catch a limit without catching that first fish. And I mean, all too well, I've seen, you saw it at the Hobie Bass Open. There were a lot of big names that didn't do too well. There were a lot of big names down at the 10 Invitational that didn't catch a limit on day 1, and unfortunately that takes you out of it.
Yep.
But you got to catch that first fish, and that's the biggest thing, is go into it not thinking about winning.
Not stressing yourself out.
Yeah, not thinking about winning, not thinking, if I don't catch this big of a fish, just go into it having fun. And we all know that winning is fun, but catching a fish is just fun. I mean, whether it's a little 3-4 inch bass that you snag by accident.
Yep.
So one of the coolest fish I ever caught was about a bass that was this big. I caught it on a Ned rig, and I was like, I actually have a picture of it on my Facebook. I'm like, this is the fish I'm the most proud of, because it was a little 4-inch fish that swallowed a Ned rig. And I was like, this guy is going to do big things in life.
His color was cool.
So, but that's the biggest thing that I would say is, like, don't be intimidated by it. I mean, it's.
You learn a lot from other people too.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it's not how good we are.
Yeah.
We base our sport on how hungry an animal is.
I think I did my best too. Like, I've learned a lot from watching you, but I did my best when I did my own interpretation of what you did. It's when I try to imitate what you do and I don't do as well. So it's kind of a thing where you have to build up your own confidence in your own ability. And I think, like you were saying, that you don't want to kind of ruin the sport for yourself,
Pressure.
But I think it's kind of the difference between you and I. Like, you take it a lot more seriously than I do, and I love fishing, but it's just fun for me, and I don't think I've lost that by doing a tournament necessarily. I think it's more your attitude towards the tournament itself when you actually get there, and you realize it's not as pressured as you think.
That's what that's all I'm picturing. I'm like, man, I want to get out there and be stressing out about
it's not like those bass boat tournaments.
I remember Fletcher's Pond. We woke up in the morning and she's cooking breakfast in the camper. And I'm just like, how are you cooking?
I gotta eat, man.
I was trying to like retie lures, and I'm like, how are you cooking breakfast right now? Like, we gotta be on the water in 5 minutes.
Like, I'm stressing
out. I just want to go. But yeah, it's one of those things that I've noticed. Like, as far as the stress levels go, and like as far as the intimidation factor goes, it really happens to everybody, and I'm sure it even happens to the guys that have been doing it. Like, I've been fishing for this is my 5th year. Like, I mean, I fished a pond growing up, but I've been fishing out of a Pelican kayak, and then upgraded from there. But the intimidation factor should not be there when you're going to these tournaments, because whether you go and you put up a 0 or you go and you put up 100+ inches, you're still getting out on the water. You're still getting to learn something new about every single lake that you fish, every pattern, every weather pattern. You're learning something new every time you go out. So it's really, you're paying anywhere from $30 to $60, but a lot of times you're just paying for that experience, and you're paying to learn something new.
Yeah, it's something I always looked at it too, that with the low entry fee type tournaments, and it being more about the camaraderie and the experience, and just the angling community with getting to know everybody. it's no different than going out to dinner that night. You know, you can't go see a movie and grab dinner for less than it costs to go to some of these weeknight style tournaments, stuff like that.
That could be our next date.
There you go.
Fishing
That would be a perfect date night.
Yeah.
When it's warm, that's all we do. So I'm fine with that.
All right, so I think we're going to pause for a minute, take a quick commercial break, let everybody readjust, grab a new beverage if they need to, run to the restroom if they need to.
Yeah, so we'll take a quick break here, but before we do, your wife has chimed in with a comment.
Good Lord.
And typical of herself, if you can try to read it
That's
on
a
the screen
book.
there.
That's not a comment.
Whoa, yeah, no
I was
way.
elected to.
So I'll go ahead and do this justice and do my best here to
Cliff notes.
try and read it. It says, I think more activities, less ways to bring him in would be a
There's bullet points.
There's bullet points. Spouses encouraging them to join. It may be something primarily done by the husband previously, and the wife/girlfriend may not want to intrude on this hobby.
This seems like a targeted.
Yeah, this is very much directed towards you.
Okay.
B, giving women a crutch like co-ed, like you said, so they can go with someone. C, fishing with a pro. Let new anglers go out with an experienced angler in a team setting. Women go to the bathroom in groups, make it less about showing up alone to join a group and more about being a part of a team or group before they even get there.
She's thought about this.
She's been waiting.
D, my Valentine's Day gift better be amazing.
Well, we discussed the other day about Valentine's and how we're not doing Valentine's Day anymore.
That's a lot.
I made that part up.
Uh-huh.
I was just taking a wild guess. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. We'll jump into a quick little
We're going to
commercial.
Garth
And
Brooks in a week. That's
we're going to do a
Valentine's
short
Day.
little intermission, but we will be back here in just a few minutes, guys.
Water Dog Outfitters. Your on the water retailer wants you to try it before you buy it with a free 15-minute paddle or pedal before any kayak, paddleboard, or bike purchase. Water Dog Outfitters is also the newest Magnum e-bike dealer, offering one of the best electric assist bikes on the market. Looking to rent? Water Dog Outfitters offers kayak, paddleboard, and bike rentals too. We're located just off the Hart Montague Bike Trail. Water Dog Outfitters, 20 minutes north of Muskegon in Montague.
It doesn't matter what you fish, you need the right bait. Berkley Power Bait. Now in 54 proven shapes. From craws and creatures to worms, grubs, swim baits, and more. And 85 sizes. And all are infused with that deadly Power Bait flavor. Fish bite and won't let go. Giving you up to 18 times longer to set the hook. And that means you catch more fish. Yeah, it's time for a bigger tackle box. Berkley. Catch more fish.
I can
All
go.
right, welcome back, everyone. I am settle down there. All right, I'm told I'm supposed to bring this comment back up.
Yeah, I'd like you to.
Okay.
She made some good points.
There
we
it
were
is.
pushing a commercial break there, and you were picking on me, so I wanted to bring it back up.
All right,
So
here's the comment.
break it back down for us, because she made some good points.
All right, let me move this mic over, get in position here. All right, starting with bullet point A. Says spouses encouraging them to join. It may be something primarily done by the husband previously, and the wife/girlfriend may not want to intrude on this hobby, so to speak.
That's a good point. We talked about that a couple times earlier tonight, that with that mentorship or having that buddy that could take you out, with you, it was Lewis going out, and you two are obviously husband and wife, and you do good fishing together, and so I think that's definitely a good, helpful thing to have, is somebody to help take you out fishing. So whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, spouses, or just friends taking you out.
And I'm gonna say something real quick. Is that like at the beginning, it's tough. Like especially when you are a little bit more experienced, and like for me, my biggest problem going to tournaments is if I know she's in the tournament, like. I hate telling her like what tournaments I don't want her to do, but there were tournaments last year where I told her, I'm like, I want to do well, and when you're out on the water, I am worried about you. So like the last thing I want to hear is that a kayak flipped and I don't know where you are.
Like at Crossroads, like
Well,
I got ran over by a
yeah,
boat.
we went out to that Crossroads. We were lucky enough to be on, we both qualified for Northern Michigan's team, and she didn't really know where I was. I was 200 yards away from a guy that got ran over by a boat.
Right.
And it was a crazy experience, but like I think that's one of the biggest things is like when you have somebody else out on the water with you, you do have that other responsibility of whether it's your spouse, your brother, your sister, friend, you always are wondering where they're at, what they're up to. And I think the biggest one for me was her first real tournament, like bigger tournament. We had just bought her a Pescador Pilot. First pedal kayak. We took it out to East West Harbor for Mayo's tournament last year, or 2 years ago, and a storm rolled through about noon, and we both, it was crazy. We both had a limit in the first 15 minutes of the tournament. Like we were
awesome.
1 and 2 sitting on the leaderboard. Like Todd Patrick took a screenshot of it, posted it, and like it was cool to see. But then that storm hit, and first instinct was I stopped fishing. I figured out where she was, went over, because I knew that this was her first time on rough water, and I'm really happy I did, because she was struggling trying to keep her kayak straight. It was the first time in that Pescador. They're not built very well for rough water, and there was times where I actually had to, like, going into the launch, I had to stay right on the side of her, kind of guiding her kayak, and it was a tough day. Like we ended up getting off the water at 1, and we gave up on 3.5 hours, 3 hours of fishing, but I would have rather both been off the water safe than fished all day, won money, but the whole time been wondering where she was or what she was doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things about taking somebody else out, but just being able to have them build that confidence, and then now like I don't even really. Every now and then I'm like, oh, where's she at? If I can see her, but most of the time she just goes off and catches bigger fish.
I think it's great to have somebody out there to help you get started, just for that reason,
Oh, yeah.
safety reasons, concerns. If I'm out fishing a tournament and something like that, I'll check in with my wife just to let her know like how things are going, and we're all good. Everybody's still alive, we're still kicking. But to have somebody there in person too, that adds a different factor to it, like you said. But
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would enjoy that hobby together.
Yeah.
So this question goes to Cody and Diesel. Do your wives fish with you?
My wife has fished with me several times. I can speak to being concerned about things like that, because one time we were out and like, where'd Ashley go? And I'm looking around and there's a jet ski, and then there's somebody in the water next to the jet ski. Like, crap, that's probably my wife. So I'm hauling ass over there. Well, it wasn't, thankfully, but So yeah, she does, and she outfishes me most of the time when she's out there.
So, go ahead, Diesel.
Yeah, I've taken my wife fishing a few times. She's not into the fishing nearly as much, but she'll give it a try because I'm so passionate about it. So I've taken her out in the kayaks, and she's caught fish out of the kayaks. And I think one of the first times we went out, we borrowed a kayak from a buddy, flipping a dock, and it's pretty active. Like they're pretty. It's pretty nice to see. You don't see people doing that, like standing fishing at the same time. This was my wife's actually time in the kayak on it pretty quickly, and it's getting her a kayak eventually.
You know, so what is that for that you're coming out fishing with like something like water on that gap? I don't have a fishing with the sheep or anything like that. I like the fact that I'm not going to fish
You know, it's not really something you shoot more than, I'm sure she would more than enjoy going out for, you know, a camping event and just get paid for it.
With my wife, kind of funny. She likes to catch fish, but she's not a touch fish. So she's got the fish grip. She'll hold it up, look at a picture of it, but actually, like, she's like, it's baby steps. We gotta go hold it with the fish grip, catch up. But I gotta take it off the hook still. She'll probably get mad at me for telling everyone her little fish secret, but that's where we're at in the whole fishing right now with her.
That's awesome.
That's a thing too. That's a comfortability thing and doing it more.
When I met my wife, there was no way she would even grab with her script. There's no possible way. Apparently, when she was little, like her dad would just like tell her to touch fish or chuck fish or fish at her, and she just wasn't having it. She completely fine with worms. She was like, if we go fish with bluegills and I can grab bluegills, she got stuck with bluegill when she was younger, and that just kind of like, that's not bluegill, it's a little bit different. All you gotta do is grab it in the mouth. She's like, I gotta grab it in the mouth. Her eyes got really big. She's like, no. So baby steps.
Excuse me. Kyle, what was Bree? I think we've talked a lot about getting females into tournaments and stuff like that, and we briefly talked about just the everyday angler. What do you think, what could be done to get more ladies out fishing? Is that, you know, more parental guidance, taking kids out, starting them when they're young, because we hit on that a couple times? What do you feel like as someone that doesn't do a lot of tournament fishing, but does a tremendous amount of everyday fishing? Yeah. What could we do as an angling community to get just more youth and female out participating?
My couple girlfriends that I do have, they have said that like they're intimidated because they don't know what to do. They just don't know. I mean, part of that is being scared to put a worm on a hook. And I mean, you got to get over that if you want to use worms. But there's plastic worms, so there's alternatives. But it's the girls that I do know, they have said, I just don't know what I'm doing. And I think that, I mean, if there were, I'm sure there's groups on Facebook or something, but if girls that we know what we're doing maybe got together and put something together on Facebook, since everybody has Facebook, and do something like that, or, I mean, I've told them to go online and just go on YouTube.
YouTube's
but
awesome.
Yeah, but a group of girls would probably make a girl like my friend Bree feel super comfortable. Be like, oh, great, you know.
I think it's a great idea. I think, like you hit on YouTube. YouTube is a wealth of knowledge. It's how I learned to do everything from working on a car to, you know, tying knots and stuff like that. It's a wealth of knowledge.
I became a plumber overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody has done it and taken a video of it and put it on YouTube. So that's a wealth of knowledge and available to anybody. But even looking at YouTube videos and trying to think of the ones I've watched when it comes to fishing, almost all of the videos that I watch are all males.
Yeah.
Doing the video.
And like
there's not a lot of DIY women anglers putting out videos to learn from, to educate from. So.
And we were talking about that on Sunday when we were on the river. You know, Dustin, the guy, he was asking me, he goes, not a lot of women are interested here. He's asking me questions, and my friend Joe said, you guys, you should start a YouTube channel. And I'm like, I don't have time to do a YouTube channel. Like, I don't know anything about that. I listen to music on YouTube. I don't know what to do with YouTube. I'm not subscribed to it. But he told me, he goes, you should. He goes, more girls would probably want to fish if they saw some chick that was just sitting in her kayak, showing them what to do. And I'm like,
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Definitely would like to see more lady anglers out there producing videos of them actively fishing. I think that could be a huge thing. It takes away a lot of the intimidation factor. It's not a male telling you what to do and how to do it. It's a fellow female angler talking about the do's and the don'ts, best practices, things like that.
And the
more female educational type fishing videos would be awesome.
And
I'm sure there's some
moms
out
need
there.
to take their kids out too. Like it doesn't need to be a dad thing. Like you can do it.
Well, yeah, it's always the
you
father
can take
daughter
your
thing.
kid out. It's cool, and they'll like it.
Yeah, absolutely.
My dad doesn't like fishing.
My
He's
dad
probably
doesn't
the only guy.
either. Oh my gosh, I took him on a
He likes the
muskie thing.
fast-paced stuff. He doesn't like to wait. Doesn't like hunting or fishing. 'Cause you have to wait.
My dad was miserable.
Sorry, Dad.
I was gonna say, I'm really surprised he doesn't enjoy it though, because like we got him into a kayak finally. He rides bikes all the time. Like he does the palm trips across Michigan, and I was like, Kim, just get a Hobie. It's like pedaling a bike. Like it's like biking on the water. And I think his wife finally got one, and we keep trying.
We tried to convince him to take hers, but he's not into it.
We keep trying, but
my dad won't do it either. That's just won't do
he's
it.
got his own thing. He's got his group of friends. But
and I think one of the other things with like the whole YouTube thing too is like everybody's always like, not many people want to sit there and just watch a video of somebody putting in and fishing for an hour and maybe not catching a fish. So it's all about the editing and all that. And like you watch these pros, you don't see the 3 hours that they went without catching a single fish. You see the 20 minutes worth of slam action that I caught 60 fish, but that was probably over 8 hours.
2 weeks worth of footage.
2 weeks worth of footage that you just cropped all into one.
It's
and
true.
And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like myself, like I have a YouTube channel. I don't know how to edit. Like I don't have the time to sit around and try to edit stuff. So like my videos are like, I have one of the sound of a bait caster in the morning because I didn't feel like editing video. My GoPro probably ran out of battery. And it's just like I went down to Florida. I just bought like a new Hobie rail to mount my stuff. I had full intentions on running my GoPro the entire time I was down there. I didn't even turn it on once because I forgot, because I got caught up in the moment. And it was just kind of like, you don't think about it. And I know it would be awesome to see somebody just go out and spend an entire time, fishing and talking about what they're doing. Whether it's a woman or a man,
Well, and show it too. Like, hey, I'm sitting here. I haven't caught a fish in 20 minutes, so it's okay if that happens to you. Like, don't give up. Like,
It happens
it's all
more
right.
often than not.
Yeah, it happens. Sometimes you're like,
sometimes
what am I doing?
it's a whole 8 hour day and you don't catch a fish. And you think about selling everything on the way home. It's not all hook sets every time you throw a line in.
Right. Well, and the whole thing with going especially river fishing and stuff like that, even though you're not catching anything, half the time just sitting in your kayak and floating down the river,
So nice.
it's
It's awesome.
it's beautiful, and it's about the meditating of actually just relaxing. To me, fishing is therapy. I have to focus on the moment, and it's beautiful and wonderful, and I just cannot wait for warmer weather. I can't get here soon enough.
God, I can't wait for sandals.
The sandal fisherman.
Yeah.
I always wait to see your post with your sandal feet midsummer. I'm like,
It's okay. I did too.
So, Grant, did you put together Last Cast?
I did.
You guys want to play Last Cast?
Well,
We haven't-
ask Kyle.
We haven't done that in a long time.
We've actually got a guest here ready to go. So
Oh boy, what is
A guest?
we have a guest. She actually just made some comments, and we decided to jump around. So
Awesome. Oh, look who that is.
Susie.
Hi, Miss Susie. How are you?
I'm good. How about you guys?
Doing great.
Living
Thank
the
you for
dream.
joining us tonight. I didn't expect this. What a pleasant surprise.
I didn't
Right?
botch the audio this time. So
Not yet. If you
Yeah, you sound clear as day this time on the show. So
I know, right? Well, I got an upgraded microphone this time.
major
too.
improvements on both
Big
ends.
time, man.
So Susie just posted one of those like Brie length type comments that I could try and post up, but I was gonna have to read it because it's gonna be so small. So actually, I still think I can throw it up here. It's gonna take like a minute to load, but I figured rather than just post it up and read it, we'll have Susie jump on and tell us it herself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. So I mean, you guys been having some really good conversations tonight, about how to get women into this sport, And, it's a question that I've thought about a lot and that I've answered many different times too. But, I think one of the best ways that we can really get them involved in here is to just, invite them out whenever you have an outing. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a tournament or a club thing or whatever. Just if it's a spur of the moment, hey, let's go fishing at this lake. Oh yeah, let's invite the girls out too. Let's get them out there. Just including them in on that. And also just offering them that hands-on guidance and experience. So if there's a lady who's getting out there for the first time, who's never really been out kayak fishing before, maybe once or twice or just a handful of times, spend some time with them. Be like, hey, what do you know? What questions do you have? Because sometimes that first outing, they're just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I have a rod and a reel and I've got all these different things. I don't know how to use them. And just, taking that time to just show them like how to, tie a knot or use a bait caster or, how to throw a jig, how to put a trailer on a jig, teach them, what line to use, little things like that. Because, sometimes it's just a matter of getting them started. And then once they, have somebody to show them and bring them in like that, they're going to be hooked right away. Because, feeding them knowledge and feeding them that, they're going to be coming back for more. So that's what I would have to suggest too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you, for those of people watching at home right now, Susie Roloff, you host a podcast on Paddle and Fin. You can see the logo behind your head. And you are Adventures with Outdoor Woman.
Yep.
You do a tremendous amount, not just fishing, but just outdoors in general. So tell everybody, now that we've got you on the show, I'm going to put you to work. Tell us a little bit about Adventures with Outdoor Woman and how that came about and kind of your background.
Sure. So Adventures with Outdoor Woman, it kind of started like a long time ago, actually, when I first created my first Gmail. And I was just trying to think of, well, what's a really good email that kind of represents myself? And I was like, well, Outdoor Woman, what else would I be? And I've done a lot of stuff with environmental education, outdoor adventures, stuff like that. So I did environmental education schooling out in Maine for a while. I did 2 summer camps out in Colorado. I've been very active with that for a while, but now I've come back home to Illinois and am now a secretary, so it's kind of interesting how life works sometimes. But, I kind of created it just to, kind of represent myself and just my passion for the outdoors. And it wasn't until when 2014 that I discovered the world of kayak fishing and tournament kayak fishing that it really kind of took off. And I was like, okay, I can kind of start to try to make something with this. And just a couple weeks ago, I actually got my own logo made. So you guys can check out
It's a very pretty logo, too.
It is, yeah. Quick Graphics helped me design that, too. So, but, I just kind of wanted it to just, envision just, my passion for the outdoors. And yeah, I think they did a really good job with that. So, I mean, that's kind of me in a nutshell a little bit, but yeah, my Facebook page is just Adventures with Outdoor Woman. And my podcast channel is Adventures of Outdoor Woman. So if you guys are wanting to follow me on there, you can follow me in there too. So.
Well, we talked to Christine a little bit ago, and Jenna is here with us, and you were also down at the WWFF this past year. And I think, if I remember, you put together a safety type seminar and stuff like that while you were down there, right?
Yes. Yep.
Can you? I really want to hammer this WWFF because I think it's really important, and I'd like to see more experiences like that. Throughout the country. I know it's a big event and it's hard to replicate stuff like that, but tell us about your experience with WWFF and what that really means.
Oh man, that was, it was a really awesome thing. Just to be able to be down there and to help educate the ladies in, everything. So not just safety itself. Safety is kind of like, it's the biggest deal for me. When I first got into kayak fishing, I had a unfortunate incident happen back in 2014 where I experienced the death of an angler when we were salmon fishing.
Oh, geez,
and yep. So we don't really know what happened. We just know that he somehow got off of his boat. He was on Lake Michigan, and of course, it was cold water, and he got hypothermia and drowned.
Wow.
So ever since that, safety has always been like one of my top priorities and just trying to be a steward for it too. So it was really important to me to be able to, got the cookies.
We would give you one.
But being able to be, a steward to help promote safety, to everybody, because it can happen to any of us, whether or not we're the most experienced. Bad conditions can come up really fast. You could have a medical thing that you don't know about. Anything and everything can happen when you're out on the water. So, to me, it's most important to make sure that everybody's prepared and they're going to know what they're going to need to be safe and to be prepared for, bad weather, or if their kayak flips over, or if they get embedded hooked in their finger too. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Susie was at that Crossroads tournament when that happened, and between everybody that was there, there was just how quickly that the whole thing happened, and honestly, I think it was Brock Howell. The fact that he was smart enough to, I watched the whole thing kind of transpire, and the fact that he was smart enough just to jump away from the kayak itself. Most guys would just sit there and be like, oh, my $5,000 everything, and he was smart enough to just jump away from the kayak. And I just remember, first thing I saw was I looked over and I saw his tan Yeti cooler floating in the water, and I thought, I don't remember what color life jacket he had on. Is that him face down?
Sure.
And, I hauled across the lake, and that was one of the scariest moments that I've had. And just seeing that happen, I know the boat that did, hit him, they were right there to help, but, the sound that it made from 200 yards away was one of the scariest things.
Yeah, that's a scary thought, man.
Yeah, when he had come up to the picnic table to let us know what happened, and he just kind of matter-of-factly said, yeah, I got hit by a boat, and I just kind of stopped for a second. I was like, what? I was like, did he just say what I think he just said? I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's figure this out. I was like, are you okay? What happened? Tell me what happened. And luckily, thank God, he didn't get hurt. It just, from what people were telling me, what they saw, it could have been a completely different situation. And if he wasn't paying attention to his surroundings and being looking out, it would have been a different story. But, I'm glad that it happened the way that it did so that he wasn't hurt. But, the greatest thing that came out of that was, everybody chipped in some way, shape, or form to make sure that he was able to fish on day 2. So, if there's one thing to say about, the sport and the camaraderie, that was so awesome to see and hear. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And luckily, incidents like this are few and far between. I don't know
it's not the norm.
Statistics of boats and kayak, but luckily he was smart enough and knew what to do at that moment. And for the people watching at home that are thinking about jumping into this, we don't mean to frighten you, but you do have to pay attention. There are just like driving a car. You have to worry about the other people on the water, on the road, but you have to worry about the other people out on the water. A lot of times when we're out fishing, especially tournament time, we get so zoned in on what we're doing and that tunnel vision of trying to catch that next fish and make that money. But you have to pay attention. You have to keep safety in the utmost forefront of your mind and know what to do when situations like that arise. So teaching safety classes and stuff like that is a great thing. Teaching it to a group of women that are maybe new to the sport or just getting into it, I think that's huge. We have a youth series coming up new to us this year, and that's right out of the gate. That's what we're going to teach first with our youth is the safety before we get into fishing and best practices, stuff like that, and teach them the do's and the don'ts of being safe on the water. And that's class number 1 with these guys. So I think that's hugely important.
Yeah, and a buddy of mine and me, we actually went out in a boat on day 1, and we were actually talking about this, how we were just in like a little aluminum John boat and just kind of looking out, and we got to talking, we're like, some of these kayaks are actually kind of hard to see, even with, that little orange safety flag. Like, you get these camo colored ones, and I mean, they blend right in, even with that bright orange flag. It could be easy to miss. I mean, granted, we were probably in the middle of the main lake, but like along the shore and everything, you kind of have to look to see, where the kayaks were. So if somebody's, in a little John boat and they're planing and they're not paying attention, or have somebody sitting in the front of them, not kind of looking around and watching, then yeah, things are bound to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Susie, what night does your segment on Paddle and Fin air?
It airs every other Wednesday.
Every other Wednesday.
Yep.
So everybody watching at home, if you haven't checked out a Paddle and Fin podcast, you're missing out. Those guys do a tremendous job. I think they have a new segment on every night of the week now, and it's something new and original every time. They've got some great guests on their podcast as well, and Susie with her own segment of Adventures of Outdoor Woman is a phenomenal one. So definitely check in. We talked earlier about learning from women putting out their own YouTube videos and things like that, and maybe that would help ease people into that less intimidating factor. Here is a female angler that has experienced it at all different levels, running a bi-weekly podcast that you can get some tremendous amount of information from firsthand experience. So I encourage everybody to check out Susie's podcast. She does a fantastic job. So wealth of information coming from that.
Awesome.
Well, Susie, thank you so much for jumping on with us. This was a pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting to talk to you tonight.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We had mentioned you earlier in the broadcast a couple times, so I was happy you were watching it tonight and was able to jump on with us.
Who wouldn't want to watch Ladies Night? I mean, come on.
Absolutely, minus these beards.
It's Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast, that's right. Well, thank you so much, Susie. I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on with us.
Anytime, yeah, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. We will talk soon. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
That was awesome. You know Susie, you met her. Have you guys seen any of Susie's stuff on Adventures Outdoor One?
Yeah.
She does a great job. I've been following Susie for a long time, and her new logo is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I like that.
The pink and the purple logo.
Yeah, it's cool.
It fits her personality. I like it. So right before Susie came on, we had talked about maybe some last cast.
Correct.
All right. So a couple of you guys maybe have played last. I know you've played Last Cast before.
It's been a while, but yes.
Yeah, we put a pause on it. So Last Cast. There is an ESPN show called, gosh, can't even think of the name of it. We haven't played it in so long. Anyway, we throw up a topic. Pardon the Interruption is the name of the ESPN show. I can't think of the segment it's called.
Now we're going to get sued.
Yeah, I know.
Scrap the whole podcast. That's all we're done.
Way to go,
It's all done. But Grant is going to throw out a topic, and we get to debate that topic and how we feel about it. And at any given time on the timer, it's usually like 1 minute countdown to debate this topic. If you're passionate about it, or if you want the last word on that subject, you just call Last Cast, and then you get to feed out the rest of the time. So I have no idea what his topics are. Anybody can jump in at any time and give your opinion about it. If you're strong about this opinion, call Last Cast and take up the time. It's all yours. It's a fun little game that we play. We haven't played it since.
If he puts up that Ned rigs are the best lure, I call Last.
He's pre-calling it.
All right.
Pre-called.
Let's
We
go.
got 5 topics, 2 minutes each because we got so many.
2 minutes.
Yep. So plenty of time to yell at each other.
Oh boy.
First one, smallmouth versus largemouth.
Smallies.
Ooh,
Do we
jeez.
really need 2 minutes for that one?
And
All
why?
right. So we talked about this a couple times. I like the smallies. I like smallies because they're fighters. They're mean. They're aggressive.
They don't stop.
Yeah, they don't stop.
Largemouth are like, oh, I'll fight, and then they're like,
Yeah.
I feel like largemouth
Alright,
you
I
have
give
to
up.
work for it. Like, you have to work for them.
I
They're
don't know
still
how to
fun,
catch
though.
Smallies,
smallmouth
you just
bass.
gotta throw it out there in the right
Throw it
spot.
out
They're
there.
gonna come get it. They don't want you.
Smallies are
I'm kind of like, I
feisty.
agree with the smallmouths, but I will say, like, I feel like for me, smallmouths are, I have to fight to catch smallmouths. Like,
Yeah.
they're
Agreed.
tough. Like, if you find them on beds or something in rivers, like, okay. But, I mean, largemouth, they're dumb.
Yeah, they eat
They're-
anything.
They'll eat anything. They're in the spots that you want them to be. They're under lily pads. They're under logs. Like, we know where they're at. Smallmouth, they're in 19 feet of water hitting
like a
a,
treasure.
you know,
Yeah.
hitting a
Get one.
crankbait. Or, you know, or jerk.
Yeah.
You know, Gull Lake has been my arch enemy.
I can't
I don't
catch
even know if
smallmouth.
I'm going to come over to that lake this year because I've put zeros up for 2 years in a row.
Me too.
Like-
I've skunked the last
Yeah.
2
Yeah,
years.
I hate all these smallmouth lakes. Like,
Yeah.
I like
catch
smallmouth
them.
fishing, but
I like
don't
smallmouth
catch
rivers,
Yeah.
but I don't
Yeah,
know
I
how to
like
catch them in
rivers.
the lake.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
like we're all pretty much on the same page on
Yeah.
this. Anybody a largemouth over a smallmouth?
I mean, I can catch largemouth.
Yeah,
It-
largemouths
it's-
I like
are
to
easier.
catch ball.
I'm not-
Smallmouth, that's what I'm saying. I'm a terrible smallmouth fisherman. Like,
Yeah.
that is my arch
I mean,
nemesis.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm like right on the border of
Yeah.
just like I love catching small or largemouth, but they are dumb. Like we know that. Like we know where they're gonna be. But like I love catching largemouth. But if I had to choose, I would target smallmouth all day.
Absolutely.
I like the dumb ones. I'll take the dumb ones.
I can catch the dumb ones.
I like the dumb ones too.
Turn my dad.
All right, what do you got next?
Sorry, honey.
The next one is, I'm not trying to take anybody's secret, but what's your go-to like topwater bait? Is it a popper? Is it a
Oh,
plopper?
we have the-
Plopper?
yeah.
Mine's
It's the same one.
$2 plopper that's in the big basket at Bass Pro. Those things are my favorite.
You know what it's called.
$2.
Yep.
You gotta show
No,
a
I
picture.
gotta
Little
show it
torpedo
because
ones,
nobody's
man.
gonna know what it
With
is.
the little spinners on the back. Those-
I
Yeah.
don't have any of
Oh,
them.
my favorite
like those
topwater
ones.
bait. I like a frog. I'm a sucker for a frog. I'll throw a frog. I'll skip it underneath
I
the
love
dock.
throwing the frog, but I am a horrible
I'm not.
That hooks
finisher
that.
with the
Not
frog.
hard.
Yeah, I'm
I've
not.
been
I'm
a
not that
terrible
good.
frog.
I
Like,
have
for-
really
I caught my
good
first big
actual
bass on a
hog
frog
fish in.
In there.
I suck.
probably 5 years ago, and I haven't been able to land a frogfish until this year. And I switched up frogs and I crushed them. Like I caught every big fish on a frog this
That's
year.
my problem. I can't
it's just-
finish it. Like I'll get a bite, I just can't.
Like after just
Get
like
to the
wait,
boat.
like, it's seriously just waiting that blow up, and then you don't want to jerk it out. Just give it a second, and then just stick them.
I do have
And
to say,
I never lost a frogfish this year, which is surprising for me
That's
after
impressive.
going 5+ years of not being able to land a frogfish. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
I
I've
didn't,
been
I didn't
watching
lose a
all-
frogfish this year either.
Did you
Did you
catch
throw
a
a
catfish?
frog?
So
I
I
didn't
don't,
catch any, but I didn't lose any either.
yeah.
so I don't know if you guys know what this is. Both of us, it's probably our favorite.
Yeah.
Old bait, the head-on crazy crawler.
Is that the one with the wings?
Yep,
Yep.
it's the original bat wing design. It's basically for.
oh, right on.
So I
yeah.
I don't know if
It's
there's
the
like a
best.
camera that I can like throw this up to or something. Or like if you
That
go
Right
Google
there.
head-on crazy crawler.
That's the best spot.
All right, yeah,
right
it's
there.
like you can
we'll
hold
give
it, but it's basically just got wings on it.
Boom.
I absolutely love this thing, and I mean
leave
it
that
just
view on for the rest of the
disperses
show.
so much water that
Buzz
I mean
me.
I've never lost a good hook set on it because it's
Yeah.
got the double treble hooks, and I mean it's terrible around lily pads, but that bait, it's old, they're hard to find, but when I find them I buy 15 of them.
Northwood seems to always have
Yeah,
I
one.
do like a good hula popper too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
there's something
Yeah.
about an old hula popper. Like I'll go digging. I have my old man's tackle boxes now, so I'll go dig in and find like the good conditioned hula popper. I'll throw that on. That always just like
I like the
nostalgia.
hula
That nice
poppers,
little
too.
bloop.
I like the small little hula poppers.
All right, so to kind of throw a reverse into that, what's the most overrated topwater bait? Like
Whopper plopper.
Yeah, whopper plopper. Are we all in agreement that whopper ploppers suck?
Yeah,
I've
They
caught
have their
fish.
time. Good luck with it.
I
They're
love
more of a
that.
niche.
I mean, we're talking about the same one, right? With the scoop mouth
Yeah.
and the make. That's my favorite. I love that thing. I love that thing. My biggest topwater bass that I caught was just last August, and I was like, I got it in my kayak and I was shaking. I was like, I can't believe this is happening right now. You know, it's like laying across my lap, and I'm like, oh my god.
That's cool.
No, I love those things.
All right,
Kinda
so
crazy.
so she said biggest bass. Let's go around the table. Cody, what is your personal best? We're going by length here.
19 and a half.
All right.
All right.
You can't make it up.
I'm not. I'm just. I'm trying to be.
Sounds suspicious.
If
now.
we think so, we're requesting
I'm gonna be
pictures.
honest. I don't have anything to measure my fish, and I don't have anything to weigh them. You
Catch
have to
board.
look at my Facebook
Oh, boy.
pictures.
Catch, we need one. Get on this.
I don't have anything.
Dude.
I catch them, I take a picture, and I put them back, and I'm like, bye. So I don't even know. You'd have to look at my pictures.
Come on, Duke, come through. She needs a catch board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Purple's a good color.
I really.
Gotta hook her up.
Purple's my
I do
favorite
like the
color,
purple.
so that's my go-to color. For
I got
sure.
purple catch board.
We'll replay this part when he
Best.
comes on in a couple weeks. And
Yeah, I know.
Get her hooked up.
I have no idea. I have pictures,
I'll
and
take
then
a
people
new
are
one,
like,
too.
"That's a monster." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
monster."
Bass PBs.
Gosh, I don't,
personal best, Sammy.
I don't know. I think 17, which isn't really good. So.
Mr. Mike, 13 and a half, 14.
I was thinking like
It's
that.
got to be one of those UP Smallies.
Yeah.
Memorial Weekend, Big Bay to knock, UP Smalley,
Can we have a tournament
20,
that weekend
21.
on Big Bay?
We got lots of pictures of them.
Yeah, it's basically throw it and catch a 18 to 20 inch smallie all day
Every
long.
time.
That'd be fun.
That's my favorite place, favorite spot.
Let's go.
Stay out of that river.
We got a tournament up there, not on Big Bay, but we got a tournament on Memorial Day weekend.
Can we make it Big Bay?
That's why we
Go
did.
fish
That's
Big Bay
why we
after.
put that tournament up there. It's opening a bass season up there. If you like to eat them, but
That's so
we're a catch
exciting.
photo release tournament. But
Kayak fishing on Big Bay is always fun because they look at you like you're freaking crazy.
yeah,
They have never seen this.
you got these guys
They're
out
not up
there
to
in their
date with
shrimp boats
kayaks
and
yet.
stuff, looking
Right.
at you in your
Speaking from
kayak.
personal
Like,
experience.
what the hell are you doing out here? That's my PB. Definitely a Big Bay to knock, UP Smalley. That's my favorite place to go.
All right, Jenna, personal best.
I caught 21.5 inch on Fletcher's pre-fishing. I couldn't find them the day of the tournament, but yeah, I was like shaking.
I think,
Like,
I think that's the best so far.
That's a big fish.
Oh, no.
No.
He's got to top it.
No, I had.
He's cheating. He went to a different
It
state.
was no. It doesn't matter.
It's not Michigan
It
fish.
doesn't matter. It was an expensive fish.
I'm pretty sure I said Michigan
Oh.
personal.
No, I didn't hear Michigan.
You can tell the story. It's fine.
Well, I mean, Michigan, it would still be a 21.5 inch smallie in
Oh.
St. Clair. But overall, it was a 23 3/4 inch 10 pounder in Louisiana.
Nice.
So
Heck yeah.
Was that during a tournament? Or?
it was at national championship last year.
Oh, nice.
Big fish of the day, $1,000 fish, and I caught it on a Ned Rig yoga pants.
Nice.
Nobody believed me until Chad Hoover asked me where I was throwing the bait, and I told him in the water. I don't know what you guys are throwing at, but I'm not catching them in the trees.
I've tried that before. It never usually works. All right, Mr. Diesel, personal best.
19 3/4 largemouth on a jig.
You catch a lot on the jig.
That's the only way I know how to catch fish. Give me a jig and I'll catch something.
All right. Grant,
18 3/4
18 3/4.
chatterbait.
Mine was 20.
Oh, stop.
We want pictures.
You sure it's not 12?
Okay, it was 21 and a half,
Okay.
but the mouth was open, so I guess technically it'd be 19 and a half.
Yeah,
Penalty. I
introduction.
gotta take the penalty. All right, Lewis, jump in on this. You gotta get over here by the microphone, else we can hear you.
I honestly have no idea. I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah.
I don't keep record.
You fish tournaments where we literally measure by the length of the fish.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
He doesn't win.
I usually am breaking stuff on my kayak because I was so frustrated.
All right, Grant, what's the next one? Stop playing on your phone.
I'm trying to verify
So
these.
far, we've been all pretty agreeable on
Yeah.
last cast. Nobody's called last cast.
Not yet.
Yeah, great. Maybe it's just
You
the
guys
top
didn't like
stuff.
my flopper. You guys didn't like the flopper.
Well, you could have called last cast and argued for it.
I mean,
I'm waiting for
it's
somebody
like
to shout
arguing.
last cast on one of these. Maybe I was bad at picking topics.
I'm ready to say.
You ready for this one?
I'm ready for to say last cast.
Intro of the year, come on.
Auto inflating PFD or not?
Ooh.
Not.
Not.
No.
I don't really.
Why?
Because if you fall and hit your
Storage.
head, how are you gonna pull it?
Auto inflate.
Auto inflating.
Oh, shit.
Okay, so
Yeah, not
all
pull
right,
cord.
So
You got a
I
sound
believe
effect for
we
that?
were talking.
I said,
So I believe we were talking earlier about
Yeah,
a
you
tournament that had just downpoured. It was terrible weather, and there was actually guys auto inflate PFDs that were inflating because they were so saturated by rain.
I've heard of that.
And it was 3-4 years ago, and again, NRS I've had the same life jacket for 4 years, never had to buy a refill cartridge, so that's why I'm sticking with that.
I definitely go with the auto inflating. I feel like
Yeah,
if
the
you wear an inflatable and you're going in, that's the one to have. The pull cord style is not anything I'm going to use. The NRS for the Chinook, I've got one of those too, and it's a great kind of backup, especially if you're getting a bunch of rain or something like that. But yeah, I go with the auto inflating.
What about like the solid foam ones, like the old style ones? I mean, do you wear does anybody wear those anymore?
The like orange
Like
ones?
the ones that you wear when
With,
you
like,
go
Not
down
the
the
orange
lane.
ones. Sammy.
The one that I'm blowing up right here as I'm going in the
I
water.
have one of those
No, I
floating
wear
wabasie.
I wear a foam vest. Like I don't have an auto inflator or anything
Like
that
from
blows
the
up.
Titanic. Like
I'm just waiting for the Coast Guard to okay floaties. So
Water wings?
keep them on my
The little
arms
kids
and
with
not
the
have
arms.
chest weight.
I can swim. I don't need a life jacket.
I like the storage on mine. I like having pockets
Say, yep.
Yeah, that's
for all my
my
tools and whatnot.
See,
I think, like-
I'm the exact opposite. I don't want anything
I don't
on me.
use
It's because
one.
I'm chubby and I'm sitting in my kayak like this. Like I don't want more stuff.
Because you haven't hooked up your RoboHawk tether yet.
Oh, here we go.
It's nice to have like your pliers.
I ordered it today.
My
Ordered
phone's
a
in
couple
this
of them
pocket.
today.
My pliers are in this
Pliers.
pocket.
The bait that you're using is in this pocket, so you don't have to dig for
I
it.
want one of those. I
All right,
saw those.
next one.
What do you got?
Favorite species that isn't bass to fish for?
There's species that are bass.
That isn't bass.
Smallmouth.
Gosh, probably.
So
You have to catch
probably
it.
panfish,
for it to be
perch,
your favorite.
steelhead, walleye, catfish.
Does it have to be freshwater?
have to be
or
freshwater?
saltwater count too?
Species.
Because we've
You can
gone
talk
on
about-
some amazing saltwater.
Yeah,
like,
I love shark
fishing
fishing.
trips.
Marlins?
That was
Like
a lot of fun.
if I move, I'm going to Florida and I'm shark fishing. That's
Are you gonna
it.
do the ladder fishing that they do down there, where they find the sandbars and they go up on the ladders and fish out and then
No,
catch the
I'm
sharks?
gonna be in my little plastic boat catching sharks.
Take your kayak
That's
out,
100%,
drop the
that's what I'm
bait,
doing.
kayak back in.
Oh, there you
And
go.
shortfish,
guys
yeah, that's
amazing.
that's
And then
fun.
it drags
I
you
used to-
15 miles.
I
Yeah,
used to live in
you're
Florida.
making
I used
fun
to
of me.
like
Sketchy.
summer in Florida
I love
when I was in
carp
high school.
fishing.
And so we were doing a lot of pier
carp
fishing.
You guys
And
are
I ballooned what was it? I think it was like half a jack out there. And about 10 o'clock, reel just starts screaming. So I set it and start fighting it in, and it gets probably fighting for I don't know how long. It just felt like forever. And I'm about 50 to 100 yards from the pier, and we got spotlights on, and I hooked it's probably about a 12-foot hammerhead.
Nice.
And
That's-
I'm like,
That's cool.
we're at the end of this
Yeah.
pier, and I'm like, how am I going to get this thing beach it? And there's like light poles, so I'm like, I'm going to have to figure out how to like hand the pole off to somebody, because that's what you got to do. You got to beach this fish. But just as we're about to start walking it down, and we get it about to 2 poles, that it does a hard roll and rolls up in my line and breaks off. And so,
Oh, it's the
I mean, I
worst
saw the
feeling.
fish, so that really doesn't matter. It's on a pier. But
I love
that was the
shark
closest
fishing.
and biggest fish I've ever hooked and got visually saw.
I think
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I love walleye fishing because I eat them. But, I mean, if I'm not catching a bass, I love catching, actually, and Michigan people are probably going to hate me for this, but I love catching bowfin.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Bowfin are one of my favorite fish
They're
because
so
they
cool.
fight so hard.
They're so
And I mean,
mean.
but
They
the
are,
thing
though.
is,
That's what makes it
you know, it's
cool.
just so irritating when you post a picture of it on Facebook, though, and everybody's like, "Oh, kill it, kill it,
Call
kill it."
last cast?
It's like, yeah, last cast. Let's go with that.
Thank you.
Somebody's gotta do it.
It's just
15
one of those
seconds left.
things that
Make
you
it
know.
count.
It's just one of those things people think, you know, kill these fish, but these fish are so important to our ecosystem that they protect, or they're the reason that our bluegill population is intact the way it is. I mean, these bowfin, even though they're big, they're ugly, they're aggressive, they are such an important fish to our ecosystem.
They're fun to catch.
One more.
They are mean though.
This is a really important one.
We got a couple people commenting on that last question just in the audience. We got walleye, steelhead, and chinook were all thrown in there.
Good answers.
Good one.
This last one means a lot.
I love hard carp.
Okay. Two-hearted ale versus every other beer.
Two-hearted.
Well, you guys don't have Budweiser, so I had to settle with Bud Light.
We only buy real beer.
Kyle?
Man.
Shots fired.
So what's the question here? I have to choose one. or
Two-hearted or the
Standard
field?
two-hearted versus every other beer.
Or everything else. I mean,
This
would
is
you
really
give
my
it
first
What would
time.
you drink for the
everything
last
else or just two-hearted?
Yeah, I'd give up two-hearted for everything else.
Would you?
I would.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would too.
Yeah,
Two-hearted's great, but
M41.
Yeah.
M41 blows two-hearted out of the water.
You mean M43?
M43.
Not a beer.
Do you know what it
That's
is?
not even that good. You don't even know what
M41's with a
it's
road
on.
and a gun.
Beer.
M43. They're gonna make an M41 now.
Yeah.
It'll be better.
I don't know. Two-hearted's great, but there's so many other varieties of great beer out there.
Yeah.
that It's hard to just choose one over the other.
Yeah, I mean, two-hearted's awesome, but I'd have to say M43.
Now they have a
Yeah,
two-hearted.
I'm
light,
up with M43.
We have a two-hearted
This
black
newly
heart.
discovered lighthearted is pretty
Lighthearted.
delicious.
What's the other M43 clones or whatever is it?
That kind of means I can drink like 7 of them and not be tanked. Like now, I drink one M43. I drink one M43. This little tiny tummy, one M43, and I need someone to drive me home.
All right.
I like it.
All right, was that the
Back
last?
to you. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
back to
all
you.
good.
All right, so I have one little kind of last question of the night. Hold on here. Nope, never mind. I made that up. All right, last question of the night. Around the table, we can give a second. I can start. Give everybody a second to think about it. But worst fishing fail. Like, what is that embarrassing moment? So mine, I'm kind of have
Not
two.
allowed to talk about them.
Only
two that I think about. So last year in my freaking big ass 17-foot kayak, I had this point where I was fishing and I ended up ramming up against the dock, and then the current or waves or whatever brought me in, and then the other end got stuck in another dock, and so I was completely stuck in between both of these docks, and it was a nightmare trying to get out. So that was probably one of my worst fails. The other one was the damn trolling motor lost connection to the remote, so I was just driving around in circles. And I couldn't figure out what the hell to do to get control of the trolling motor again, so I was just sitting there driving around in circles.
What about what that one time did you have your line get caught in your trolling motor and?
Oh yeah, that was another one. That was probably worse. I was trying to get a video of Matt Pyatt catching a fish because he's over there screaming freaking Mike Aganelli 5-pounder. And so I tried to get my phone out, and we'll have to pull this video out because you can see, like, I'm filming him for a second, and then suddenly the phone drops, and you just hear this nasty noise as my pole gets caught in the trolling motor, and my freaking pole gets ripped out of the boat. Cut the line, I caught the pole, cut the line, and then when I pulled the trolling motor up, my chatterbait was on the end of it. So it worked out. All right, Diesel, biggest fishing fail.
Oh, biggest fishing fail. What did I do? I just had it and then I forgot.
Too many to think of? Should we skip you and come back?
Yeah, come back.
All right, who's ready?
I got one.
Yeah, I've got a couple.
All right, we'll go around. Grant, go ahead.
So we were up north fishing on Blue Lake, Memorial Day weekend. Myself, my dad, and then a couple buddies, and we were working this bank line, and my buddy said, "Watch out for that rope." And as I'm casting my $18 jackhammer out, I was like, "Oh, I got one!" And I swung it like it was my job, and nothing's happening. Ended up caught that rope. I mean, it was layering in the water. It was casting like it was my job. And
was that a personal best?
It could have been. That was a big dock, so it would have been a good one.
That's awesome.
All right, Zach, you said you had one?
Yeah, I mean, luckily I haven't, flipped yet. It happens, so I'm just kind of waiting for it to happen. So we're going to knock down wood for that. But, so the first time I actually started really running a GoPro, I did the Red Fox Outdoor, or the Red Fox River Bassin tournament there. And I was so stoked to do it because I had never fished a river tournament, and I found a spot that I knew there were good fish. And I'm sitting there, and my first cast of the day, 6:30 hits, and I throw in, and there's this beautiful spot, like a little inlet, and I throw in I want to say it was just like a big TRD, and right away I feel something just smash this hook. Set the hook, get the fish in the net, and all this is on camera. I'm pretty sure it's on my YouTube page if you guys want to watch it too.
Is.
It's miserable. So I get the fish in. I followed everything that I knew about putting a fish on the board. I had it in the net, got my phone ready, and, I went to go put the fish, and for some reason, I always put my net on this side, grab, and then I lay them, and then I cover right away with this hand. So for some reason, my net was on this side. I grabbed, I laid, covered it with this hand. I went to go take my phone out, and then when I lifted both hands, and the fish was just sitting there. The fish just starts flopping, and this is first cast of the day. It was a 19 and a half, and I couldn't even swear at that point. The look on my face was just like, oh, I don't know what to do right now. I just lost the fish that would have won me the tournament, and I didn't know that at that point that fish would have won it for me, but I ended up, my smallest fish was 15 inches, and that was a 19 and a half, and I only lost by maybe 3-4 inches.
Oh man.
So it's that, that would have put me into first. And, at the time, I was really disheartened by it, but, you just keep going and
You gotta watch the
hope for the
video
best
though.
day. Yeah, the video is on
It's
my
great.
YouTube page.
It's good.
But
That's awesome.
All right, Jenna, let's hear yours.
I don't do anything too adventurous, so I don't really have that great of a story, but there's been multiple times where we use Ned rigs a lot. It's kind of our go-to. And on the Saginaw Bay, there's lots of reeds, and you get stuck, and there's lots of overall weed beds. And there's been multiple times when I've gotten caught, pulled back, and hauled off and hit myself in the face with a weight and gotten a goose egg.
There's been multiple times where she set the hook on weeds, yelled fish, and
Hey,
it's been
it's my story. That's my story. Leave me alone. We've all done that, okay? But yeah, the one time was especially bad, and I got a goose egg right above my eye and had to go to work and explain to everybody why I had a bruise on my face. So that was cool.
Zach, you keep your hands off her, man.
It was Ned, I swear.
All right, Mike, go ahead.
Oh, geez. I got a lot. Probably the biggest fail.
I can think of
The
a good
swan.
one.
That's bad when you know other people
Is
have
that the story you're going to tell?
No, that's one of the first ones. The canopy fail on Jordan. That was a heartbreaker. No, it probably was our Lobdell tournament. So I launched in Lobdell and went over to Bennett. And when you get it underneath the overpass there, snappers, and you get back into Bennett, there's all these cattails on your right-hand side. So I really had to go to the bathroom. I had to pee so bad. So I take the drive out of the Hobie and just ram it into the cattails the best I could to camouflage myself. And I think I'm looking around. There's people that live there. I'm just visiting, so I want to be discreet. But I had to go to the bathroom. So I
Sounds
stand
like
up.
you're about to admit to a crime.
Do we want this
So
on
I'm
the air?
saying that
that's no longer a crime.
Oh,
as
is
long
this
as there's no kids.
allegedly?
Allegedly.
You allegedly did this, right, Mike?
Well, yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly pissed. So I'm looking around I'm looking at the water because I'm concerned that there's a boat or something. Because there's people out tooling around on their pontoons while we were out fishing that tournament. And I didn't really look through the cattails so much because I figured I'm camouflaged enough. But I'm just, I gotta go. So I'm pissing in the water and into the cattails, and I finally finish and I look up and there's this older man who was he had been working right there on his little seawall, and he's got a wheelbarrow, and he's from me to Kyle away from me, and he's just looking at me like, what the heck, what are you doing? And I was like, sorry, I had to go, man. So quickly shoved off, paddled back over to Los Angeles.
Just give the wave. It's well, see you later.
Clearly, I'd just given him a show that he didn't want to see and be a part of it anyway. So he's just out working. So that was probably the biggest fail out there this past year, but there was many.
So before we continue on here, we've got a few people chiming in with some. Philip says, flip over, losing $800 worth of gear.
Oh,
That's a heartbreak.
Tim DeSmit says, getting beat by Matt Elliott.
Thanks.
There was more. He said at MKT State Championship, broke rudder cable and pedal drive, got beat by Matt Elliott.
There's a lot of excuses there.
The key thing was just getting beat by Matt Elliott. Mr. Crook says, caught largest salmon of my life. Says lift. I'm going to guess that means life. It says, buddy put it on a boga, and the boga and fish went overboard. Saved me an $800 taxidermy bill, but cost him a $200 boga grip.
Oh, man.
And then Dan Van Dusen says, buying a thunder cricket and losing it on the first cast. So,
Been there, done that.
I'm going to go ahead and say, Dan, you are our winner of the night. So shoot us your address, and we've got a little prize pack coming out your way. We've all been there. So, All right, Mr. Diesel, have you come up with yours yet?
Yeah, now I remember it. It was Gull Lake. I think it was would have been my fourth or fifth fish, and it was my first time using the donkey leash and catch my fish, put it on the donkey leash, and I dropped the fish in to set up my board, and I had hooked the fish in the corner of the mouth, dropped it, flew right up the donkey leash, and I'm just cussing and swearing and just super depressed. I was like, I can't believe I just lost this stupid fish.
That was a Gull Lake fish, too.
Yeah.
I felt bad that he said Gull Lake.
I feel like Gull Lake has a lot of stories.
I like Gull Lake, and that's my only bad thing about it is I lost that one fish. So
Don't break your pedal drive at the south end, but launch at the north end.
I have never caught a fish on Gull Lake. I hate that lake. I hate it.
Have you ever had like this has happened before? It happened to me. Where you're holding a fish and you got your grippers or a pair of pliers or whatever you got there, and instead of like taking the fish and dropping it off to the side into the water, you drop your tool off in the water and you're still holding onto the fish. And you're like what the hell did I just do?
I've done that with scupper plugs.
Robo
I have my scupper plugs. I put
Robo-Hawk.
my water, and I throw it in the water, and I'm like, what the hell did I just throw that in the water for?
Sponsors.
Brought to you by RoboHawk.
Yeah.
Don't throw your shit overboard.
That should be their new tagline.
Totally, don't throw your shit overboard, RoboHawk.
Mike can just be a picture of Mike like.
Okay.
All right, Sammy, let's hear yours.
It was on the Wabasee, but the little creek that goes into Little Wabasee, and I went to go cast, and I somehow hooked the back of my life jacket, and I pulled the damn thing right over my face. Luckily, there was no one around, and I did one of these.
This sounds like one of those things from like the old school cartoon.
Yeah. And then
When
trying
was
to
this?
unhook it.
How long ago was this? Last year?
This is last year.
On a Topwater event?
I think so. Or was it that?
Was this the team tournament?
I think this was the team tournament when I was back there.
Where you didn't catch any fish, but you caught yourself.
Hey, I caught little fish.
I would have just put myself on the board. Like, I caught
I could've been
myself,
on the
like,
board.
way me.
Put your hand on there. Caught
Second place.
Take a picture of yourself with the board like this. Caught this.
Yeah.
What about you, Lisa?
Oh,
Biggest fishing fail.
I don't know if it's the biggest, but I've done it 3 times and it drives me crazy.
This sounds like a learning moment.
You know, you guys with the paddle kayaks would be like, see, it's sliding paddle kayak. So when I'm going out, I've done it 3 times, but the most recent one was with a brand new quantum rod that I got. It was a good deal. It was on clearance. It's not like it's a good deal, and I was excited because I didn't have a quantum ever.
Sure.
Went to the Bass Pro in Ohio, got a bunch of stuff, put a brand new lure on it. I went out like the next day and I had 3 of my rods on the back of my kayak. And I pick up my paddle and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go over there, pick it up. The edge of my paddle caught, and my brand new Fluger reel that I put on it, 'cause I like those reels. They're nice and smooth, they're a good deal. Anyways, whatever. So I watched this happen in slow motion, and I was already, and I'm going like this, trying to reach it, and I watced it just sink in the
That's
water.
so sad. I've done that before.
You know
That's
who
the
makes
third
it
time.
good? You know who makes it good? RoboHawk.
RoboHawk. Don't throw your shit overboard.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna put one of those on each one of my rods. The quantum one broke my heart. You know, the first one was a cheap
I got a
ugly
message
stick.
in now.
But seriously, I already thought about it. On payday, it's happening. But
That's sad.
Do we
It was-
have
I mean,
RoboHawk as a
watching
primary
it
sponsor?
sink is.
Yep, RoboHawk
Yeah.
is
Okay,
on.
good,
I'm actually messaging the guy right now to tell him that he better watch this episode.
Yeah, tell him to jump on. I want an endorsement here.
I just posted some RoboHawk info. I posted the
I need a
Topwater
couple.
discount code on the page today because I
There you
bought
go.
some new phone tethers and stuff
I'm
like
looking at
that.
it. I was like,
for
I need all
Hunter
this
and I,
stuff.
and bought some decals and stuff like that. So, and they already shipped. I bought them today at like 2 o'clock, and he shipped them out at like 4 o'clock. And I was like, hell yeah, Ben, he's on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna definitely invest in some of those. I saw those today and I was like, I need those.
Oh my gosh, yeah. To see your brand new rod and reel
It
go
was,
overboard
and like
is a
seriously,
heartbreaking
I watched
experience.
it lower until it just disappeared, and I was like, oh my god.
I would have been drop shot.
Jumping in.
And I thought about it.
I don't
I
care
thought
how
about
cold it is.
going with goggles, and I'm like, you know what?
He did that once on the Saginaw River. He caught his own pole after he
Yeah.
dropped it. That was pretty cool.
It was like 8 feet, and I just kept throwing it like a 9-foot diver.
Yeah.
And I finally was reeling. I'm just like, oh yeah, there it is.
Well,
This
you
was
see
like a
those guys that
20-foot
do like
drop.
those YouTube videos where they dive under and they're GoProing and they're
Yeah.
like finding all this stuff. I'm like, I should learn how to scuba dive.
Right.
Yeah, for when you drop
Kyle
your
and I about
rod.
had to call those guys in last year.
Yeah, we lost all kinds of stuff.
That was a horrible, horrible night.
That was a bad day.
That went from a great day to just the worst ever.
Like I was broken after that day.
We were up in the UP on Big Bay to Knock, and beautiful, beautiful summer day. We had been out fishing all day in our kayaks, and his 17-footer, we actually just pulled the trailer and parked it into the water and offloaded his kayak there. Mine was in the water. We came back in because we were headed with the family to the UP State Fair. And again, it's like 80 degrees. It's beautiful. Not a cloud in the sky. And from where our cabin is on Big Bay to Knock over to Escanaba is only like a 15, 20-minute drive. It's not that far. And while we were at the county fair, or the state fair, a storm must have come in south of us on the bay. And we get back in and it's dark and all we can hear are the waves splashing. We go out there, our kayaks are just beating the crap out of each other. We lost rods, all of our tools were gone, our electronics were over. His Mustang Survival blew open, and oh my gosh, it was a heartbreaking experience.
It was like the day before the state championship too.
Yeah, we had to pack. We came back to pack up our stuff to drive down to Traverse City to the KBF or to the MKT state championship, and oh my gosh, we were heartbroken. Luckily, our family like stayed behind and like scoured the beach and found almost all of our stuff.
Yeah, I left a rod out there, which I don't know. I'm weird like that. I can't leave that shit behind. It made me so mad. Like ruined everything. And then my dad found it, so that made it. All right, Cody, what is yours?
Well, everybody's heard the story of me losing the brand new A-rig at the Grand River tournament, so I won't tell that one. But you and I were getting ready to pre-fish.
Was that the one where you posted how much it cost while
Yeah,
your
my
wife was
wife
watching
was
the
not
show?
happy about
She
that.
didn't know about it.
Not
He's like,
happy
I
about
lost a $40
$40.
bait. And then
First
he gets
cat.
a text message. That bait was $40.
How
You told
much?
me it was 10.
No, you never give specifics.
Oh yeah, don't worry about how much that
That's the
costs.
problem about me knowing how much they cost.
But no, I was
And
waiting for
eyeballs.
Kyle to show up so we could pre-fish for the Grand River tournament. And I was out just throwing a jerk bait into the river waiting. And somebody had been nice enough to throw a chunk of carpeting into the river, so I hooked into that. And so I was dragging it over to the shore. And I reached down to grab it and grabbed the tip of my rod and snapped it straight off. So somebody owes me a rod because they threw some carpeting into the river.
Hopefully they're watching.
Sorry. way to clean up the river for
Watch your
everybody.
back.
All right, Lewis, you're jumping in. Let's hear it.
All right. Fishing the Flat River for smallmouth with a Super Spook Junior is one of my favorites. Touching back on a previous topic, Super Spook Junior for smallmouth is the way to go. Especially when one of them blows up on it and you see the fish come out of the water and you know it's a big one. And you set it like Babe Ruth and it hits you square in the groin. To which you double over on your kayak with the hooks embedded deeply into your pants.
Was it just the pants though?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It was just the clothing.
That makes everything so much better.
I feel like you win this one.
Man,
Yeah.
at least you weren't
Yeah.
flipping.
So we can't get Benny on here right now.
dude,
He's
you were-
actually busy. He's putting his kid to bed right now. So RoboHawk though, family man.
I don't think RoboHawk makes the product for that. Though.
Well, you could probably use one of the tethers to keep your kid from falling out of the crib.
Maybe.
Very true.
I mean, you never know.
Wrap it around his ankle.
There you go.
But in all seriousness, we brought up RoboHawk, and I posted some stuff on the Topwater page. Those guys do a tremendous job of keeping your equipment safe and attached to your rig. From the phone tethers to the rod tethers, I mean, even the line that you can attach to the front of your kayak to a dock or something like that if you need to get off your unit for a minute. Those guys do a great job. And as far as quality and pricing goes, it's not top-notch quality, but the pricing is so unbelievable for some of these products that he produces. Like the foam tethers, they come in, I think he has 9 different color options to choose from, so you can customize it, match it up to your gear. But
two different styles.
Yeah,
too.
2 different styles, and they're like $15. I mean, how much is that cell phone in your hand that all of our tournaments are catch photo release where we have to use this on the water, but for $15 to keep it safe? Oh my gosh, it's a no-brainer.
I've dropped my phone a few times.
Oh yeah.
I fished it out twice.
That's
luckily.
crazy. Just keep it safe. And another sponsor that I posted earlier today was Lurlock. Lurlock hooked us up with a 50% off discount code for anything online. And that applies to the products that they have on sale right now currently. So I hooked up Hunter and I with some stuff earlier today with that discount code. Like they have a medium storage box that's originally $24.99 on sale for $10.99. And then you get half off of the $10.99 price for their. So I was paying like $5-6 for a medium, and it comes with 3 free Bill Dance lures included in that. So, I mean, just
Bill Dance what?
lures.
What?
You know.
What in the hell is a lure?
Bait.
Comment
We've had this debate many times.
Window or winder?
It's a window.
Crick or creek?
It's Walmart's.
Do you throw the lure
Walmart
in the
has
creek?
that silent S on it.
Wash or wash?
It's a wash.
Thank you.
I'm not that hillbilly.
Flag.
I'm a little hillbilly. But
What?
Aren't we
I say
all?
flag.
Flag?
Flag.
Flag. Oh, you do an A like
Flag.
This is going downhill in a hurry.
Is there a Y?
why do they spell sure
Flag.
S-U-R-E? Sure, lure. Sure, lure.
Sure.
All right. Well, I would like to give a thanks
Oh, goodness
to Lewis,
gracious.
Cody, Lisa, Sammy. Thank you for joining us. Jenna, Zach, Diesel, of course, Mike, and Grant over here. We have a couple last comments that people posted up. So a couple people talking about the Flat River. We have a comment from Mr. Crooks as far as a little RoboHawk things. Don't be an Elliot. Keep your shit in the boat. RoboHawk.
Good words.
And then Tim DeSmith says, RoboHawk, stop donating to the bottom of the lake. And then our final fail of the night, Mr. Brian Keeley says that he put a 5-pounder on a fish grip and then watched it swim away with his fish grips. So I feel like if those were connected to a RoboHawk, he would not have lost those either. So thanks everyone for joining tonight, and sponsored by RoboHawk. Don't throw your shit overboard. Good night, everybody.
Good night.